Excellent. So, to welcome everyone back again. Feels like we were just here yesterday. It's because we were. So, thank you for taking the time to be here. So, it is a little bit different setup as you see again. Then also, as you notice, there is no microphone in the middle of the room anymore on a stand, so that this is still all being recorded. And the microphone is actually right above you where you see with that green light. So everything is picked up on that, so just so you are aware in that regards, and that includes for a lot of people in the audience, so it does pick up extremely well on that, so just so you are aware that some of the conversations may be picked up, so you've been forewarned, I guess you could say.
Jose straddled the rafters up there, is that how you got that up there?
So yeah, it's a good question, so anyway, excited to have that kind of taken care of. I appreciate Mr. Menchaca and helping get that organized and that taken care of, so in that regards. With that, we'll just kind of, I guess we'll turn it over to Christina to do a call to order.
Doty.
Here.
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 Here. Very good, thank you so much. So yes, all council members are here. I appreciate the number of staff that are here as well. I know there's a lot of them to present tonight, so we will just jump right on into this. Again, thank you for being here and everything. We had some good discussions yesterday. And then we'll have, go through these different budget items, and if there's questions along the way, get those answered, and then go from there. So, Mary Lynn, I'll turn it over to you, and then you can introduce our first individual there.
So we have a lot of department meetings tonight, but like I said before, I'm available for discussion if you do want to dig into the budget any further. And then if you do have, we do plan on the next budget workshop, which is next Thursday. I know we talked about some options. We are doing additional research to try to give you as many options as we can for the general fund. Including timing and some of those discussions. So I just wanted to let you know the next budget workshop, even if we don't finalize, we are planning to doing some additional research on property taxes, on options for the city to help with working through the general fund budget. So I'll turn it over to Scott as first department.
Excellent. All right, Scott Swanson. I'm the Director of Aviation for the City of Caldwell. And I will start this one. I just want to say thank you to the mayor and everybody that is on council here, all the appointed officials that are in the crowd, Chief Ingram, and everybody else I may have missed. Thank you. And then also, so I want to keep this short and sweet. You have a 8-page packet I handed out talking about the airport, and then some of the few areas I want to focus on for the budget for fiscal year 2026 is going to be brand identity and value proposition as we move forward. And what I mean by that is essentially on the brand identity is going to be that first impression that the executive airport looks like when people research it, when they go in and be like, oh, what's here? And then the value proposition is going to be the added value that we can add to either individual pilots, communities of pilots, or aeronautical businesses that may be looking to come into the area within the future. With those two areas, kind of breaking those down, the big one's going to be a terminal use redesign, and kind of the big areas on that, the pilot lounge that we currently have in the Hubler building is still stocked with furniture that existed in the old farmhouse cafe, and then also just need to upgrade a few of the amenity appliances within that area as well, and that's going to provide comfort and convenience to the community of pilots and their families that do come through there. And also with that, that's going to raise that brand identity of who we are and say, okay, these guys are working hard, they're presenting the best product they can right now, and it's going to get better in the future, so I want to come here, I want to put my plane here, and I want to fly here. Second out of this, we look at operations analysis. Kind of put in here, the phrase "you don't know what you don't know." We're moving into 2026, so I don't think that's a valid statement anymore with the amount of data that is at our fingertips to go out and capture and bring in and sound business decisions with, and that's going to be a big focus for next year as well. So page 3. And this came out of strategic planning with the Airport Advisory Board that we've been doing since February. Mission statement now for the airport is kind of going to read as put here, elevating general aviation activity for regional economic benefits. And then our vision is where Idaho takes flight and opportunities land, just getting that short, sweet catchphrase of what we're able to offer. And then we do have the pictures of most of the aircraft that do exist on Caldwell Executive Airport at this time. Moving to page 4, just kind of skip around in order here, but so this budget's going to reflect a commitment to delivering effective operational services while optimizing the allocation of funds. So we all understand that the economy right now is kind of up and down. We don't know what we're going to get, so we're going to strive to plan to be able to accomplish what we want with the least amount available. So the primary focus, again, stated with this budget, is data capture processes for business decision-making and enhance communications directly with pilots and other people using the airport as well. Also going back and providing that needed information to city leadership when we look at reviewing decisions that need to be made at the council level moving forward. And then, so future priorities on this is going to be streamlining operational function, and then our commitment to increasing our ability to self-fund future development is going to be a very big one. And then bottom line up front for fiscal year 26, projected revenues are at 937,156, and then projected expenses are at 937,031. So about $124 profit, if you want to call it that, is what I'm expecting for next year and to spend on that revenue and expense line.
Scott, where's your revenue coming from? What's your biggest revenue source?
So the biggest revenue source right now is going to be on the ground leases where the hangars actually sit. So that's producing, if it's just the pilot leases, we're looking in their hangars, it's about $308,000 a year. And then you can add in about another $18,000 a year on agricultural leases. And then you can move, we have the tie down fees that come in. That's usually between $22,000 and $28,000 a year, depending how much traffic comes in. And then with the fuel flow fee that we instituted going into fiscal year 25, that's bringing in about $10,000 to $12,000 a year on that one. And then other miscellaneous fees as far as the like lease processing fees, renewal fees, the gate cards that get sold. Because that price I moved up to $30 and all that. So my intention with all this is to not touch leasing rates at all moving forward. If I can, ideally I can bring in enough business and some non-aeronautical function of the airport that's going to offset the costs of the users on the airport so that their prices will remain the same and they can plan for that more, looking at 5-10 years instead of at 2 or 3 years before a rent increase occurs. Sir. Where are we at? Page 5. So this last fiscal year, there's been a lot of things that occurred, and I'll just highlight a few of them. Some of the big ones that will stand out immediately is going to be on the west end of the Hubler terminal where we had the actual terminal area where you walk in and had a desk. So that I leased out to Cumulus Aviation, which is a sub-company of Sprintbach Aviation. And so they redeveloped that whole area into more of a corporate FBO style pilot lounge for their charter services that are operating out of the building at this time. And this is just going to continue. They're not quite done yet. I know a few of the council members have been in there and seen it, and along with other people in the community. So those two pictures up top, that is the west end of the building now. The one large picture in the middle there, that is the addition of Silverhawk's new FBO building with restaurant and all that stuff, outdoor eating, and that is the anticipated end goal on what they're going to be building in that area. So Silverhawk right now is going through and finalizing the surveying and all that stuff to essentially identify the whole area they're going to be in, and then forward, and I expect ground to be broken for actual construction, probably by the end of the summer. The picture just to the right of that is Envision Construction, and that is a location where we had them move the entire stormwater retention pond system from the north side of Aviation Way to the south side of Aviation Way. So it's gonna sit between Aviation Way and the Notice Canal along I-84 now. And then they're putting in 2 hangar sets right there. They're gonna be large, they're gonna have inflow radiant heating and everything else that somebody could want within their hangar. On the lower left corner, you see a backhoe and a field there. That is the location of where the farmhouse was. So the farmhouse is now no longer there, and we're moving forward on to getting that bigger FBO building from Springbok in. And the last picture on the bottom right, that is where that house was that the fire department did training on last year, and the Caldwell Housing Authority abated all the asbestos out of it. So that house is now gone as well. So that opens up another almost 2-acre area that can be used for non-aeronautical revenue generation. Page 6. All right, going back, some of the areas I'm looking at for terminal building improvements, I already hit on the pilot lounge. Community artwork is a big thing we're looking at right now in conjunction with economic development, just to get some of the, a lot of the artwork that makes people stop and think when they look at it and really enjoy that stuff and bring them there. Need more adequate storage facilities within the building, just building functionality needs to get switched around a little bit. I do have some structural concerns with the building at this point as well, and then just ongoing maintenance. The big one with the maintenance is so Daryl Moore is our maintenance tech, and he has a kind of a warehouse shack that's along Aviation Way as you go over Linden towards Smead, but there's no climatization in that building at all, so that needs to happen, because right now he's either getting baked in there during the summer or freezing like crazy in the winter along with the equipment. If we move to the next page, capital improvements, we have the 3 areas that are kind of in effect still: Airport Improvement Program, AIP, bipartisan infrastructure law, which will exist until that funding runs out from what it's dedicated against. And then the one that's now active is the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And that is essentially driving a lot of the Department of Transportation's grant funding process as it trickles back down to the states. For fiscal year 26, anticipate doing a taxiway Charlie reconstruction on the center 1/3 of that taxiway. We're just working with limited funds that are available, but that is going to be a full tear out, remill, and repave. And that's going to be a 3-year project to complete all the sections of taxiway, because that pavement is about 48 years old. And then also air traffic control tower kind of always sits in that background right there. The next opening for that on the grant application process is going to be in August. And then right now, as an airport in a city, we sit in a very competitive position to be able to receive that grant once those are released. It's just going to be dependent on what that looks like. I know Finance Department has mentioned internal capital improvement plans out at the airport. Looking at probably $100,000 right now. That's going to go to infrastructure planning and design for the north side of the airport to the to the east of the building. And I plan on talking a lot more about that at a strategic planning workshop in August with you all before a council meeting. And then last page, operational analysis. So this is a screenshot from a very small portion of the runway stats monitoring program. So this system is going to cost $3,000 annually. The contract on this will start in October. The individual that runs it is a veteran, very good individual, but as you can see right now, just through this top block, you can see what it allocates as a operation on the airport, and this is covering the first 5 days of June. Essentially, I pulled this report this morning, so almost the 1st through the 4th, and then whatever took off before 8 a.m. this morning. But we have 1,464 operations on the airport for the first 4 days and 6 hours of the month. And so with this system in place, next year, when it comes back around to June, we'll have a really good idea on what is happening on the airport, and I will not be restricted to interpolating numbers from 2020. we'll just use this moving forward for planning and figure out what actually needs to happen out there. So that is all I have, and I am available for questions.
Scott, do you have a swag guess on when that tower might get completed?
My swag guess is the spring of '27 construction would start and probably finish early winter of '27.
And percentage wise, how much will the feds participate in the total cost?
So if we can get in on the fiscal year '26, the feds will cover 95%. If it gets to outside of 2026 into '27, the feds will cover 90%.
And will that be a federal employee in the control tower?
That will be, so that'll be contracted FAA employees that will operate that control tower. So those, the 2 to 3 individuals that work in there will not be paid by the city.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Scott? Okay, excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Counselors, thank you.
Welcome. All that stretching you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hello, Mayor and Council. This will be my first budget meeting, so mine is actually pretty short and sweet. As there's not too much to my budget change at this point. So on page 2, I did create a mission statement for the department. The mission statement reads, "To attract, develop, and retain a diverse and talented workforce committed to public service excellence, we strive to foster a culture of integrity, equity, and innovation by delivering responsive, transparent, and strategic human resource services that empower employees and support the mission of our government and the communities we serve." My mission coming in really has been to just really meet with leadership, build relationships so that I could build trust. Obviously, coming in as a new HR director, that's my main goal and has been. And so this past 6 months, that's really what I've been doing, is try to create transparencies with leadership, transparencies with the employees, to provide clarity to them on everything that the city offers to them as a whole, their benefits, what we can do to help support them all the way through their onboarding, through their separation. So that's been kind of my main mission since starting. I have a great HR team. They in there, run circles, and just are very dedicated and committed to the city and helping staff. So I'm very grateful to come in to having them as my team. Areas of responsibility and support, I'm not gonna read through all those, just listed them for you to have. Obviously, this is not an inclusive list. There are many other things that go on day to day, and we just tackle things as they come through. In regards to my budget, I'm not asking for any purchases this year. I really just need to figure out how to find more time in my day, that's what I need to find. But other than that, the fiscal year 26 budget for HR from the 25 budget has decreased 14%. So I was able to kind of get in there, figure out what was not needed and necessary, meaning like there were computers and equipment and furniture and stuff that we don't need. Everything, I mean, I'm allocating to 1 computer set a year so we can rotate, make sure we keep our computers maintenance, but at this point in time, there isn't any needs in the budget for me to make changes. And on page 3, kind of going into like the accomplishments and goals, one of my goals that will be coming at some point in the future is to include an HRIS system. However, right now is not the time to ask for that, as I'm really waiting for finance to make their big decision on an ERP system, which will be next year's budget. So until they determine which one works best for them, a lot of them may come with an HRIS system that we can purchase with it. That just is a seamless integration, which is ideal than purchasing a separate HRIS that then has to be imported and exported and really makes it inefficient. So I'm holding off as much as it would be nice to have one, because right now in HR, we have like 15 to 20 different systems we're using to manage employee benefits and everything that we're running. So I look forward to that day when we can move to an HRIS system, but this year there isn't any purchasing goals, or if anything purchasing that I'm asking. So my goals and accomplishments really kind of are just tied to day-to-day work stuff that we're doing throughout the department. And I'm gonna continue to keep working through them. In the 6 months I've been here, I feel like I've accomplished as much as I could in that 6 months, and my list is still ongoing that I continue to tackle. And I know a big ask from many of you when I met with you was, you know, updating job descriptions, policies, looking at different benefits. What are some ways that we can better really offer to our staff? So I'm continuing to work through that. Some of the other goals I have for this next year would be obviously revamping the performance evals, collaborating with supervisors to establish a department-specific performance metrics. So that's still something I'm working on. Conducting a comprehensive review and update of the employee handbook, and that is something I plan to, both of those items, well, most of these items will plan to be presented to you all in the upcoming months. I would like to work through some of these things before the next fiscal year. So I plan to bring all of those updates and changes and requests to you all. Some of those will include what I've been hearing throughout the city that they would like to see as well, is incorporating Veterans Day as a recognized and observed holiday for the city. And the other piece would be eliminating floating holidays and truly designating them as observation holidays. With the city being partially opened, staff in some departments aren't able to be closed, so some of them are forced to work, whereas they would have liked to have it or be closed. It creates more confusion. My department gets so many questions every time a floating holiday comes up, because they're just unsure and, you know, what they have to do to work, or why they're working, or why they can't all take it off. That it won't have a budget impact, according to Raylan, except for police. For police.
Yeah, which is already budgeted, so we have accumulated within the budget that if those floating holidays as well as Veterans Day were recognized, that those are already included in the budget for police and fire, where the budget impact happens.
So those are some of the things.
How many paid holidays do we have with all of that? Are we up to 12 now?
That would be 12 if we added Veterans Day.
That'd be 12.
Yes. The 3 floating, currently are Martin Luther King President's Day and Juneteenth. They all fall in the first half of the year, so we felt like we didn't want to try to present anything before then. We'll just let the 3 for this year of what people kind of planned, but it would be nice to just observe those. I know when we're working on those days, finance works on those days, the banks are closed, all of our vendors are closed. So a lot of the city is closed, so you're trying to do your day-to-day stuff and you're not really, some of the stuff you're having to halt and wait till the next day anyway. So that was one of the things I did recognize in working the last 2 floating holidays, of kind of limited in what you can do on those days. I will continue to keep looking for creative ways to offer different benefits that do not have an impact on the budget. Another one of them is potentially looking at adding an extended medical leave policy, which has no cash value, that would be more focused and geared for employees' family events. So if a spouse or a child has any sort of illness or sickness, right now in our policy, the only thing they can take is their paid time off and not have any time. The donation policy for PTO is only geared for employee illness. So if an employee's, we've had a few that have had early on employment and a spouse or child gets sick and they're having to take time off to be with them, and they have no other bank to pull from other than their time off bank. So something I'm just kind of looking at. I don't have a policy yet ready to present to you, but something I've been trying to look at how to be creative in what we can offer for them. I'm also working on developing an education and training programs that offers employer reimbursement if an employee does not meet the requirements of how long they stay after. So CDL policy is one of the first examples that I've been working on, where the city's helping pay for the employee to obtain their CDL. However, then they sign an agreement that they must stay for a minimum of 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months, depending on how much the city ends up paying out. It's kind of tied to a dollar amount to not continue to keep giving towards certifications and training for employees and then having them turn around and leave and go somewhere else to work. That seems to be what we were seeing, or I was hearing when I came in a lot of the departments of we're paying for their certifications and then they're leaving and employee and they leave. So I'd like to have a little bit of accountability for the employee to know if the city's going to invest in them. We'd like them to stay with the city for some time. Another thing I'm planning to work on is reviewing and revising the city vehicle policy. I know there's been just a few things here or there that have come up that I would like to get a better idea of the employees who take home vehicles and having a better policy for that. I feel like it's been a little bit in the sense of there's not really guidelines or things people are following, and I want to make sure that we kind of stay on that and make sure that it's necessary and we're not wasting city funds for employees to be taking vehicles home if it's not needed. And then continue to work on reducing our work comp injuries as our work comp continues to increase as well. So that's something I've been working on with departments that have a higher claims rate and getting in our state insurance fund safety trainer into those departments to kind of shadow and give them direct training so that those claims down. I included a little bit of information on the workforce data in case you're wondering where we're at on employees. If we had all employee positions filled, we would be at 502 employees for the city. The part-time employees do include seasonal, which are like the pool and golf staff. So right now, if those are all full, that would be where we would be at the 502. But in the off seasons of those part-time positions aren't there. But we currently have 451 full-time employees with 34 vacancies and 44 positions for part-time with 22 vacancies and the 7 elected officials. That's all I have for you. If you have any questions for me.
How is our workman's comp rating? Are we increasing in cost still, or what are we looking like with workman's comp?
So I haven't seen, I don't know when we get our actual renewal. Have you seen our renewal? I've only been seeing I just saw our quarterly expense and about fell out of my chair. So I was like, we have to figure this out. This seems very high. But what I just recently also found out is we are required to stay with state insurance fund, which is unfortunate and limiting where we can't go out to bid to see if there are other options for us. So I'm going to work with it just kind of came to my attention recently. So I'm going to work through that and say, what can we do to reduce this and what to on our end.
We used to be evaluated on a 3-year rotation,
It's every 5 year, I believe.
5 years.
Actually, no, it is every 3. The claims data that you give every.
Oh, when I just
It
did
is-
the audit, I did do 3 years
It is
worth.
3 years,
You're
I
right.
apologize. It is every 3 years, and so that last year falls off and then we add a new one. I believe it's calendar year is when we get it updates, so.
We saw the big jump in medical insurance. I'm just wondering if we saw a jump in workman's comp as well.
We've seen that increase, the rates have increased. Our discounts are not offsetting, because we have a drug-free smoke.
Yeah, our drug-free does give
workplace.
us a significant decrease in premiums having that in our policy.
But it doesn't offset all of those increased costs, so. And what we do is for the departments that are, because every job has a specific rate, the departments that are seeing a lot of claims, we charge that additional cost to those departments specifically, so.
Thank you.
Michelle, you and I talked about extensively about job descriptions when you first came on. Do you have any system set up where are they gonna be graded quarterly or semi-annually or annually as far as their expectations by the supervisors to the employees?
Well, right now, I kind of coming in and hearing all the needs when I met with all of the leadership throughout the departments. I kind of was just handling more of the urgent ones, which I feel like I've done probably at least 50 to maybe 75 job descriptions already of going through them. So once we got through the budget season, I planned on creating a better program. Mary Kay helps me with the job descriptions and going through them. So her and I were talking about doing it with different job families. It makes sense to do it amongst departments and set them up on some sort of review so that it's not just we keep them and then all of a sudden, hey, wait, this position should have changed 3 years ago and all these duties have changed. So no, it's something we're working on, but we haven't created an actual calendar of when those would occur.
On the review and revised city vehicle policy, are there any tax liabilities on people taking vehicles home? I think there is.
So, and that's something I want to audit. I haven't had the chance to dive fully into it, but I started to where payroll sent me who employees are to be coding an hour in their timesheet the days that they take them home, because then payroll charges them a certain amount of dollars per day for taking it home. But I haven't got to dive too much in. I'm next planning to meet or send an email out to the directors and supervisors to find out if they can give me a list of who in their department has city vehicles. Because Debbie has a master list, but doesn't necessarily, she knows what departments they belong to, but she doesn't know which employee. So we're just trying to align, because there has been a time or two where we've gotten a complaint about an employee in a city vehicle, and it would be nice for us to be able to identify exactly who that is. So I'm trying to put all that together still.
And then on the work comp injuries, that's always a big number for most cities. Do you have anything, feedback on that, or what you're doing to reduce that?
I feel like for the most part, it's been fairly good. There's been some departments that have had a little bit higher that I'm working with, but otherwise, I feel like it's been better. I don't have an exact number. I could definitely get those for you and send you like what we've had in 2025. I've kind of hit more of the departments it's been affecting and giving them their numbers, but overall, I feel like it's not been a huge amount.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you so much. Say.
Outreach is the, it's showing there's the donation we took to, I think over the course of the last year, we've donated over 100 items to Pictures for Kids, so it's not going to waste. Be repurposed, somebody else gets advantage of it. The, our AT guys can help you. Sorry. What's off? Thanks. Our mission statement. Design, implementation, maintenance of current technology, and given the appropriate resources, we strive to provide the tools necessary for the city staff to offer consistent service to the citizens of the city of Caldwell. Through the use and support of appropriate technology, the city of Caldwell will bring new level of access to city services for city residents and business owners alike. Pages mixed up there. Next one is just our organizational chart. He was promoted into systems tech. Elijah was hired in October, tech position, and Hannah Shaday's at 3 weeks in. And then, Emmanuel's our web administrator. He's, doing a job revamping the website, something improved.
Why are you looking at me?
Just letting you know, with this chart, there's like 4 positions the city does not have, and that's like network admin, a security admin, a server admin, database administrator. This is just our staff again, just let you know that, he's got his, system administrator certification for Spillman. All CJIS certified except for Hannah, and she's working towards that. This is a slide that I pulled, so just to give you guys some information there. For the government, on average, it's 1 employee, IT employee per 50 employees. But it ranges, depends on which survey you look at. It could go up to 800 to 1 employee, but I honestly don't know how they could accomplish this. 1 employee and 800 supporting them. Or physicals from last year to this year. And the biggest changes there is that we are moving away from Darktrace. We're going to another appliance that's called Threat Locker, which also satisfies the SIEM solution that we didn't have. Not sure if you guys recall or not. It's one of the things that this will cover that. Plus, we're also increasing our proof point offering, and we've added additional rubric appliance for our backup. Cost increases. Other than that, it's pretty much staying the same. That's pretty much all I have.
Sweet, any questions?
Questions?
So Raylene, where does IT come in?
It's within the general fund, and so it is, we use a cost allocation plan to charge the enterprise funds based off of, I use it based off their budgets, either revenue, so it depends on either, so for HR and city clerk and some of the departments, it's based off of the number of FTE they have. And for the other, it's based off of the revenues that they receive because it's finance and IT, and so it's just those processes. So I use an allocation, and we charge 60% of city clerk, city council, mayor admin, finance, IT, and the city hall portion, not transfers, but the city hall to run city hall. We charge all of those 60% of those costs to the special revenue and enterprise funds. So that's where those monies come from, is transfers from those funds. The other 40% comes from the sales tax that goes into general fund. So.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Awesome, thanks so much. Okay. I think it's you. Michelle.
Come on, Rachel. You're talking about utility billing.
Okay, no hiding in the back right now.
If you make me. Finance is not really grown. We've kind of stayed the same, but packet's already on your desk. It's this black book. We have 10 FTP within the finance department, and then we also work with the utility billing department, and there's 7 FTP there. So within finance, we also did include Christine Dent, she's funded out of the police department, and we co-supervise because a lot of her duties end up being part of finance, so we kind of share. She's funded out of the police because she works directly with police for everything, and she's located over there, but she is still part of the finance team as well. So that's kind of our team. We're working on the budget and compensation analyst. That position has been filled, and the job has been offered. That position starts July 6th, I believe, 6th or 7th. So we'll be full staff in finance again. And then for utility billing, we have a current open position that we're looking at workload to see if we need to fill it or not. So we're currently reviewing the workload and efficiencies, so. Our mission, vision, and values hasn't changed from last year. We focus on transparency and being accurate and reliable with accounting, budgeting, and financial information. So that has not changed. I won't go through that. We've done a lot this last year, from doing, the revenue audit, which Michelle presented on. We are almost finalizing the implementation of our new grant software. Really looked at efficiencies and policies and trying to implement those with procedures. Our P-card system is up and running, and what's nice about that is I feel like it's created a lot of efficiencies, even though there's a lot more work in finance that we have to do. But it's streamlined a lot of things with departments once we do, we had to do some training on it, but it really has streamlined some purchasing processes. Just with talking about grants, as you can see, we submitted 26 grants and we were told we were awarded just over $1 million and from 11 new grants this last fiscal year. So some of those are foundation grants, some of them are federal grants, so they start to add up. And but finance, every month we do a lot between the checks. I mean, every month, every week you see the check register, so you know how much we process. There's a lot that we track and we look at. So for 2025 and 2026, last year we talked about implementing a new ERP system and that we were going to come this year for a budget request. We have been spending this last year looking at what we need and the timelines, and we realized we have a lot of processes in place with a lot of new things, and so we're wanting to tie up all of those new things before we try to get into an ERP system, which will be a 12 to 18 month, if not a 24-month process for us to fully implement it, if not longer. So you will see that request in 2027. The bids that we've gotten are not cheap. They are expensive. The ongoing cost is between $100,000 and $150,000, but that implementation cost is pretty significant in what we've seen. But it will bring our ERP system up to a SaaS system. It'll be online, and there'll be a lot more efficiencies that we'll be able to put out to departments and create time savings within departments, within finance, create better reporting. So everything will be more accessible and quicker and just more accurate, I would say. I mean, not that we're inaccurate, but I think easier with processes, so.
It won't be more accurate, but information will be more readily available to everybody at their fingertips.
So you will see that in 2027. It is something that we'll have to plan for, but it is, and the budget request will be about $500,000. So just want to prepare you for that.
There will be cost offsets though, because we will be replacing a lot of existing softwares. There's 3 softwares right now, or 3 processes that we pay for in HR, which would all combine into one, so we'd get rid of paying for those. And potentially, depending on how far we range it out, we could potentially save, money on 2 or 3 of the softwares we're paying for in finance, and converting it over to this one. So that will be presented when we do that proposal. You guys will see, this is costs we're already spending. Once we finalize where we're actually going to go and what we're going to be replacing with the new ERP system, you'll see the new cost, but also you'll see what we're existing paying, so the increase in cost total.
Other new things that we're going to be bringing forward is an investment policy. This will be something that is going to bring us really. The current investment policy we have is way outdated. It doesn't even apply to some of the current laws that we have in the state of Idaho. And so we've been working on that to really bring that process up. So once that is finalized, we'll be bringing that before City Council. And our budget, really our budget is, not growing, the personnel is growing, just from COLA and, health insurance. And our operationals have really, we tried to stay the same and maintain. There was a little bit increase in training, just with the new person coming on, but that is it. Be happy to stand for any questions.
Yes.
In regards to the grant writer revenue, how much, you said around $1 million, right? How much of that was savings in our general fund? So were there any grants that helped our general fund out at all?
So I would say like the COPS grant, about 500,000, that did offset some of the 4 new personnel. It's not 100% savings, but it is some savings within the general fund. Those personnel just started in April, is their first payroll, and so I don't have the exact number yet, but that is the start of some of those funding. I'd have to go back and look at all the other grants to see where they were, but I don't have those off the top of my head. I'd be happy to give them to you if you'd like.
And with the new Amplifund system that we're almost done implementing, we can get you some really good reporting data on the grants. But do keep in mind that $1 million number, that is, I mean, the COPS grant's a 3-year grant, you know, so you got $500,000, but we're only gonna be getting about 125, 130 a year. So that's $1 million in grant funding received, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's replacing $1 million or saving $1 million in the general fund in the current fiscal year. That's gonna be spread out over the term of the grants that we have. I would say that, I don't know the numbers between government, all those are governmental funds, not enterprise funds. We don't have any enterprise fund grants, I don't think, as
Not
of today.
currently,
And
yeah.
so those are going toward government services, and offsetting, some of them are offsetting, tax revenue. The Brownsfield study, one that we, got awarded is in there, and that's going to, again, that's a 3-year grant, right? And so that's gonna be offsetting costs over the term of the grant periods. But once we're right now just getting all the data uploaded into that software, and that software will be able to present really good reporting data on grants we've applied for, used, you know, what expenditures we used within the year. And so if you want some of that, hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be done implementing that, and so have updated, accurate information in there to be able to present to you if you want that.
Yeah, what I'm trying to weigh is whether or not, I mean, $1 million is quite a bit. I get that the grant writers most likely paid out of the general fund, correct?
Correct.
So at what point do we get another one, right? Meaning, if they're offsetting their wages and could clearly bring in $1 million from the city, and I get it's not apples to apples, but they're saving general fund money, 500,000 or even at 100 and some odd thousand, I'm going to wager that his wage is not over 100,000 a year. So that's the data I'm looking for. I get that you mentioned all that, but what I'm looking for is when is it time to bring another grant writer on? It doesn't have to be answered today, but that's where my mind's going is, you know, if they're paying for themselves and more for the city at some point, those become pretty valuable people.
Yes. And I would say if we were to bring another grant writer on, whatever that timing would be, we would want somebody that would have specifics in transportation and water and sewer.
Sure.
To really go after those types of grants. Our current grant writer, he's great, and he works a lot with police and fire to help us offset a lot of the grants with police and fire. I know, like, some of the smaller ones, like, we got $1,000 for smoke detectors that then fire prevention went out and delivered those all to the communities and installed them. So some grants are not very large, but they have a big impact on our community too.
Sure.
So, but if we were to do that, it would be specific for transportation and water and sewer, so.
Okay, thank you.
Are most of those grants really in federal money then, or?
Like I said, some of it's federal, some of it's state, and some of it's foundation grants. So it's not all federal, it's not all state, and it's not like, the COPS grant, that was federal. Those applications take more time. They're not, you know, maybe a couple days that Chris is working on them, and then getting them submitted. Those can take a month and take a lot of data and, back and forth between the departments, so.
That's about federal grants, is, you know, we have to have them, but a lot of times there's so doggone many strings attached to it. Sometimes it becomes difficult for cities to manage it.
That is true. Like, it's a lot of work to manage federal funds. I know that when we had the ARPA, that's a lot of work. And I know Rochelle and I are both relieved that all that money has been obligated and we're just winding that because it is a lot of work. It's a lot of processes to follow. And so if we started getting a lot more federal grants, I would come to city council and request for a grant coordinator that would be specific to managing all of those grants, doing the financial reporting, doing the procurement on it, and really being an expert in the grants, because that, right now it's Rochelle and I that do that most. So.
Yeah, out of the $1 million referenced, I'd say about 60% of it is federal grant funding. Cities tend to have a little bit more opportunity there with federal and state grant funding. So there is quite a bit there. With our new software as well, there's a workflow process. So each individual grant will be looked at for feasibility, right? Can we do it? Do we have the personnel? Some grants within them also allow you to allot a certain percentage to go toward admin or specifically allow for a new position. So depending on how big the grant is and the requirements of the program, if we felt that there was staff needed, we would want to make sure that the funding was enough to cover staff for that grant to be able to manage it. If it's small enough, then we look at other things. Is there going to be environmental review? Is there going to be Davis-Bacon and those kinds of administrative tasks that would require additional staff time? If it does, we kind of look at that dollar amount and say, is it worth it? You know, if it's $50,000 and it's got, Davis-Bacon, ideally we'd probably say no, because it's going to cost us more in staff time to manage that $50,000 in federal funding. But if it's enough to where it supersedes the cost of administrative duties, then we will say yes. But it goes through every grant, as long as we're using our new program, which we're currently implementing. But hopefully the city will get on board and we'll get all those grants in there, and we will be able to do a thorough review of each one that we apply for. That way, before we bring it to council for approval, we've already done that scope and that analysis as to whether or not it's feasible financially and administratively.
I'm glad you're looking at it that way, because if we just look on the surface about the grant paying for the grant writer, if there's strings attached that costs us a lot of money, we've got to take that into consideration too. So that's great that you're looking at that.
Do we still have firefighters on the SAFERS grant, or is that done?
For fiscal 26, it'll be the last year, and it's just the first quarter.
Yeah, so at the end of the calendar year, we will run out of funding for that. So this is the last calendar year of 6 more months.
So absorbing that is in the budget?
That's correct.
How is our purchasing specialist working? Are we saving money?
Yes, there is a lot of due diligence, and Anita is very busy. I think some departments, they don't necessarily love the questions when we say, hey, have you looked at this vendor? Hey, have you, let's slow this down and get a couple more quotes. So there's definitely sometimes a slowdown of processes, but Anita will do the legwork. She'll go out and get the quotes. She'll get that. But we've seen significant savings, I think, in a lot of purchases. We've seen the documentation. And so I truly do think that position has paid for itself over and over again with getting the citywide.
If it was, if you felt like it was paying for itself.
Yeah, and you could ask anybody at City Hall. Like Anita is, she is one of the best employees that she does not only purchasing, and she's very knowledgeable about that, but you give her a project of working through something, she will get it, like surplus property. She's helped Debbie with that. Tracking down and tracking contracts, she works in that. So there's a lot of things other than just purchasing that she does that are part of her job duties that she just assists the city with.
And as you guys may remember, last year we asked for a part-time person to help with the P card implementation, and we were not allotted that position. And Anita and Scott have really bared the burden of what would normally come from that. And so she has been an incremental part in the P card implementation. She's in that program daily. She assists, she's made videos to assist with training. And that P card program, as of today, is bringing in about $80,000 to $100,000 in rebates to the city annually. So she's you know, that program alone and her assistance in that program is paying for itself, which does want me to also mention, we talked about investment policy, so that is something that we are foregoing. I'm currently looking at a draft review that was sent to me, working with an organization to assist in redeveloping our policy. So that will be forthcoming in the next couple of months, hopefully before the end of the fiscal year and we get busy with audit, but working to revamp that. The goal of finance is to also potentially utilize them for investment purposes to assist with managing an investment program. We're at a point where we have enough excess funds to warrant an actual management program there. And part of the rebate that we're receiving from the P-card will go to assisting us in looking at that in more depth and breadth. But you guys will be, we'll have workshops on that moving forward, and you guys will get all the information as we move through that process. But first things first is to get our policy up to date so that we know where our guidelines are and our boundaries and what we want to do as a city as far as that's concerned. And that also includes updating city code right now. So that's something that you'll be seeing hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months.
One more, Mr. Mayor. Did we ever get a balance sheet from the vet card?
No.
Okay, because I've contacted them several times too, so I guess I'll have to go down there and talk to them. But we're okay with the vet hall, right? They've given us everything we need there, as far as how much money we donate. Okay, thank you.
Okay, awesome, thank you so much. I think maybe we should leave Rochelle there. Just kidding, Rochelle.
I'll be right here if you need me. I'm not going anywhere.
Hey, Oscar. So much.
Mayor, councilors, I want to start out with my presentation to tell you thank you. It's kind of an analogy of growing as a city is like growing in your adulthood. When you're young in your adulthood, you're just trying to make rent, you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills or do your groceries. And same thing with the city. When you're growing, you're just covering those basic things and kind of getting those done. But as you grow, you start thinking about healthcare and retirement and planning for the future. And I think bringing in-house counsel is that step in a maturing city. Caldwell's just growing, and it's time now to be able to have in-house legal counsel. It's an important position, but I think it brings a lot of function for the city to have an attorney and staff available just on the phone to pick up and call or to stop by the office or just to be part of the team. So you've had great legal services before, and so that's why I wanted to start with saying thank you for trusting me with that leadership to be able to establish this office moving forward. So thank you. Part of what we've done is, you can see here, we've started in February. I'm gonna have the same issues that Jose did. There we go. I came on board in February, and like any good bank robber movie, what you have to start doing first is assemble your team. Right? So I had to go out and look, and Ocean had 11, and Class has 2 right now. So I was very fortunate in April to get Jackie Childs to come on board as a paralegal. So Jackie, I was gonna have you just stand up so they could see who you are.
I think they can all see me.
Jackie worked at Canyon County for almost 20 years at the prosecutor and attorney's office, doing civil work there and criminal work, just kind of all over the board. So she and I had worked together for a few years there. I knew how valuable she was, and I'm very, very excited that she had a lapse in judgment and agreed to come on and help out. I thought from those months that I was here before that I had a little bit under control and knew what was going on. Jackie came in, and I'll tell you the first day she said, I need to see what's in your box there. And we discovered projects that needed done and things, efficiencies that created. So I was very, very happy to have Jackie here. So it's been a great addition. When we were looking for a city clerk, we had an opportunity to get Justin Ruin here, who's also here with us. Justin has a great skill set, 20 years at the Association of Idaho Cities. I think he's already working on 10 projects since 2 weeks he's been here. He's completed about 10 more since he's been here. He's just been a great asset to have. I think he's spread out. He's not just working for me in legal. He's at legal, but I know there's already other departments. I think Ray Lynn's been able to use him. I know Debbie's using him for some things, other departments. So so far we're getting a good team assembled. So I'm very excited about that. The other part here, if you're wondering about the picture, that's the picture of the first day when I came in. So I like to joke, it's kind of a fishing story, but it's more true than fish, is that that was my desk when I started. I had a tablet of paper and a pen. So we're moving forward from the ground up on that. And so that's part of the next picture here. You see on the next slide is how we moved in to the exercise room. And that blue tape is looking at what we're gonna do for our office expansion and construction. So that's where we're currently at. In the last 6 weeks here, I'm giving you some metrics that we've looked at, and that's just fully coming on board with the paralegal. We've got 40 projects that we've completed, and we have 30 more going, and we get more every day. And that's just kind of a review of the different things that we're handling there that are coming in. So a lot of different things happening. I think when we moved into this new space, we got a lot more foot traffic. So we're having just various people come in from the city to be able to ask questions, which has been great because it's been able to establish relationships with the various people within the city that need legal advice. So we're very happy with that and where we're going. We're working on right now still a file management system, figuring out prioritization and what our workflows are going to be for legal. Looking at advancing in the future, we're still establishing our roles within the office and to the city at large. We're looking to expand, and that's our significant ask in this budget, is that I believe if we can add one more staff attorney, I think we'll be in a very good position as a legal department to be able to increase our bandwidth for handling more issues and to reduce the response time for those issues. I think those are two key factors that we can start delivering more. Also, bringing in another attorney, the hope would be that we can expand on the legal expertise and knowledge of the department. We also are planning, as we go forward, with the help of Justin and with myself, to do more trainings for employees on legal topics. And that's just a few of these are the public records request trainings, the trainings for elected officials. I think there's some various other things that we can do as they're requested and we talk about. So that's what we're looking at going on and moving forward with the city attorney's office. So our budget review is fairly simple. It's growing, but that's because we're growing. The increase from year to year over year is just bringing that total staff level to full. That's what's represented there. And then on the expenses budget, the key components there will be the contract attorneys. As much as we want to be able to handle in-house, there's still some things that we're just going to need to send to contract attorneys. Legal research subscriptions, training and development, and then looking on the horizon, not for this year, but for future years, we'd like to investigate a case tracking and management system. One where different employees and folks within the city can submit their requests for legal services, track where the progress is, and we can track it internally where we're at and have our documents attached to it, and do some time tracking improvements with that. So that's kind of the overview and budget for the city attorney's office. Any questions?
Questions?
Mr. Mayor, Oscar, I've appreciated you being here. You are approachable, and I think it's been a breath of fresh air for us to be able to reach out and get answers in a more timely manner. The other services weren't also professional, but it's nice to know that somebody's working on it. We'll see you daily when we stop in here, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Oscar's doing a tremendous job, and it's a great fit, and that's so important here at the city, and so I appreciate him so much. And Jackie, it's a great team over there, what they do and how much they are able to accomplish. And like they showed, just even in the corner and not even even a desk, just kind of a table, if that. And so excited to actually get him some office space and to be able to function a little better in there. So I'm just so excited for that. So appreciate all you do.
And I think on that note, today we decided, we'll be moving out to the airport while while the construction takes place. There's about 6 weeks for the construction to happen. So we'll have to temporarily relocate. We'll probably make arrangements for at least me to be at City Hall and around for people to be able to contact and see me. But I think it's pretty exciting to start the construction, and I kind of flew through it, but there were on here the blueprints for the drawings there for the new office building. So it's exciting.
Well, I think the hiring team did a wonderful job. They must have known what they were doing.
I second that. Just a comment, you said you're working on personnel issues, I wasn't aware we had any.
So
We're a good team.
I did have a serious question. You know, the PA's office worked real hard. Not that your question wasn't serious, sorry. I know the PA's was very much paperless. They worked very hard at that. Are you kind of in that same stream, or how's that working out?
I'm very proud to tell you that I haven't printed a single paper out since I've been here. Part of that's my incompetence with the technology. But no, we're working very hard to try to keep as paperless as possible. So
Do we have the systems in place for that?
well, we're making do with what we have. So we're able to use Office 365 to do that. We're looking at ways to do it through Teams and storing on network drives. So as we go, we'll probably need to find ways to expand, but for now, we're able to manage.
Oscar, can I say something? We're just, because I worked at the prosecutor's office all those years, I was there pre-paperless and then through the paperless transition and stuff. And so I have set up the way that we have processing similar to the way that legal processes at the prosecutor's office, because that's the way it was done. I mean, obviously, we don't have the case management system, but everything was done through a network drive that IT graciously set up that's locked to only us that can see it. So every project has a project file, has all of our email communication, has our drafts, everything's in there paperless. So if he needs something and he's not there, he can get right into his network drive and find whatever he needs without having to have a file folder with him.
Oh, nice, wonderful, wonderful, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much, Oscar.
Thank you.
Okay, it is, actually shows as break time, so I know we'll be good, maybe take a break and then come back with it. So we'll take about, back.
this, I just said, lower my expectations.
Yeah, so we'll have everybody back, so, Robin.
Still owe me one.
That's what I mean.
That's okay.
Should be.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Robin Collins, Community Development Director. My staff was not happy that I put all their mug shots up here, but I thought it was pretty awesome to show. Since we've combined this last year, building used to be its own separate department and planning and zoning, and we've combined under community development. So trying to create that team. I'm not gonna read through the mission statement, it's in your packet, I gave you a brochure plus this presentation. The brochure goes into a little more detail. I just wanted to cover that, again, we have building safety, planning and zoning, code compliance, parking compliance, and CDBG grants underneath community development. So really quick, I want to brag about our department because in our department, we have 39 professional certifications and over 40 years of experience. And currently we've got 7 more people that are seeking certifications as we speak. So we're pretty excited about that. The org chart, this is in your packet as well. It just kind of shows the different divisions and then our administrative support team at the top. Morgan is our deputy director. She comes over the planning side of things, and the building safety comes directly under myself. I won't go through all these accomplishments either, but I will say I want to highlight just a couple of them that have been a lot of work. One is the comprehensive plan and the rewrite of 75% of the zoning ordinances. That was a huge lift for staff, and they did a great job. On the building side, we've taken all of the residential and non-residential building permit submittals with the exception of owner builders, and we've transitioned them all to paperless. Staff was still taking plan submittals over the counter and having to scan them in, which was taking up a lot of staff time. We have done away with that now. They are no longer doing that, so hopefully that will provide a more efficient use of their staff time. We've also installed computers at the front counters. I don't know why they didn't have computers at the front counter, but they didn't. So now there's more efficiency there for them. Let's see. Software, you've heard me talk about software. Our software that we currently have is really not a great software. It does not provide good reporting or data, doesn't track things the way we need it to. So we have been, over the last few weeks, demoing software. I do believe we've found a really good software that we may look at moving forward with. And the goal would be to have that contract signed by the end of September of this fiscal year, so we can start moving forward with integration of that. We transitioned all of our inspectors in the fields to iPads instead of those bulky, heavy laptops that they have. Cash tells me they are loving it, and it's been more efficient for them.
They're passing more inspections now, so they must be happy.
Our parking officers were having some struggles with getting on private property due to not knowing if it was safe to go on those properties, but also running vehicle plates. So we've worked with the Caldwell Police Department, thanks to Chief Ingram, and we're now going through the process of getting them approved to have some access to Spillman, which will allow them to run more vehicle registration and plates, but also they'll be able to see if there are safety alerts on certain properties and know not to enter onto those properties. So thanks again to Chief Ingram. That's a fantastic move forward for us. Let's see, we've had various staff members who participated as panelists at several conferences, so we're pretty proud of them for doing that. We've worked with the city and Compass to get an outward-facing GIS portal for the community. That's still in progress. We're hoping that that will be finished up here soon. And then one of the bigger things, we're working on a process of creating development guides that'll better describe to the public what they need to do, all the way from the land, finding out what their zoning is, all through entitlements and construction. So we're hoping to have those done by the end of the fiscal year as well.
As far as some accomplishments, this is just looking at October 1st through May 31st and comparing it to fiscal year 24 and then fiscal year 25. As you can see, we have already exceeded our planning application submittals, 190 compared to 268 already this year. As far as just a snapshot of our large planning applications, we're staying about the same on annexations, staying about the same on preliminary plats. You'll see the final plats has went up a little bit. What that tells us is that those approvals that happened over the last couple of years, people are finally at a point where they can start pulling permits to actually get out there and start building homes and stuff. It, like we talked before, it takes about a good 18 to 24 months once the approvals before they actually start building. Our code compliance team, again, pretty much on track with where they were last year at this time for inspections and violations. Now, I will say they probably would be ahead of schedule, but we had a part-time code enforcement officer that was doing 30 hours a week, and now we only have a part-time doing 18 hours a week. And that 18 hours a week, we have focused them more on parking compliance. And so we've had 2 officers keeping up with the pace where we had 2.5, so they're pretty busy out in the field. Our plan review snapshot, now this is gonna take into consideration land use application, building permits, and licenses. However, it does not take into consideration for the construction drawing reviews and those types of reviews. But we have already exceeded where we were last year at this time by quite a bit. We've already done almost 3,300 plan reviews. And again, I want to mention, this is an initial plan review. This does not take into consideration for second, third, fourth, fifth reviews that have to come in. So staff has been really busy. Total permits issued. The tan color is last fiscal year. The dark blue is this fiscal year. As you can see, we've already exceeded building permits issued in every category: building, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, and even our sign permits. New construction permits issued. Again, we have residential new construction is the first category. This time last year, we only did 621 residential permits. We're already at 937. So we are way above where we were last year. Commercial new construction is a little bit less, but on the next slide, this gives you a better viewpoint of this is commercial new construction and tenant improvements. We're above where we were last year, so commercial is picking up. And why that's important is tenant improvements also indicates that there could be a new business that's went into an existing building. Building inspections, our inspectors have just been going crazy out there. We are at almost 24,000 inspections since October, compared to 18,000 last year. Revenues, again, the tan is the revenues that we saw in fiscal year 2024. As you can see, building is gonna way exceed probably their revenues from last year. Their projected revenues for this fiscal year were 4.3, and they're already at 3.4. Planning's projected revenues for this year were 710,000, and we've already exceeded that on the planning side. And the 710 was for the whole year, and we're already past it. Just some budget highlights for building division. We are requesting 1 new position, a commercial building inspector plans examiner. The reason we're doing this is our current budget has 69,000 in it that's allocated for outside contract services. We use it a lot, as you can tell, because of the inspections we're doing. But the outside consultant is extremely expensive, and it's gonna be of more value to just hire a full-time employee. So the impact to the budget for a full-time employee is actually only 52,000, and that's with benefits and everything. Also in the building division, as Raylan went over yesterday, we have 3 employees that when they obtain certifications, we're requesting them a reclass to the next step position. And then a reclass in pay grade due to job descriptions. There's 4 employees in the building side. And then the capital requests, we're requesting 2 new vehicles within the building division to replace a truck with a blown transmission and another truck that's having major issues. We have probably expended 5 times our repair and maintenance on the building side of what was budgeted, because we have a very old fleet of vehicles and they're becoming extremely expensive to repair. So we are looking forward to when we can go to a leased program and not have to have those expenses. On the planning side, we are requesting 1 new position. We weren't going to request a new position, but after we just passed the ordinance for the downtown time restricted parking and such, and seeing how busy our parking compliance officers have been, we feel like it's gonna be really important to request another full-time parking code compliance officer. The goal being 1 parking officer would be dedicated solely to downtown, and the other 1.5 positions would be for the citywide. Also in the planning division, we're request to reclass 2 positions to the next step. Those 2 employees have already met their certifications and years of experience, but we don't have the funds at the moment to bump them to that next level, so we're budgeting for next fiscal year. And then we have 5 employees in the planning division that need to be reclassed due to job descriptions as well. Again, capital requests, we're requesting 2 new vehicles within the planning division. We have a 17-year-old truck that is starting to have major issues. And we have a 13-year-old vehicle that's not too bad because it's natural gas. But what happens is there's only 1 place to fill up with natural gas, and that's in Nampa. And it takes a lot of staff time to drive all the way to Nampa and back every time they need to get gas. And it takes away from them being in the field. So we'd like to replace that. So the budget proposal for the building division, total operations and personnel last year was 2.8 million. This year we're requesting 2.3, so we have reduced our budget in the building side 513,000. And that is with requesting the realignment of positions and the new position. On the planning side, our budget last year was 1.4. We are asking for 1.6. It's an increase of 200,000. The reason for that is the 1 new position. Also, if we go to the new software, our annual licensing fee is going to go up quite significantly. And then also, one of the bigger changes too is 25% of the CDBG personnel comes under the planning budget. So that is where the increase in our budget has happened, is those 3 big items. Overall though, if we look at both building and planning divisions as a department, as a whole, we are still down 311,703 as a department. And that is with all of the requests that we are requesting in the budget. As far as CDBG, this one's pretty easy. This budget is based on HUD allocations that we get each year. We were notified we will be getting another allocation this next fiscal year. So and it is more than what we had last year. So we are putting in the budget for 1.7 million for program, that should be program year 25, sorry. That's a mistake up there, but it's okay. Fiscal year 26, program year 25. And some of the potential projects that we're looking towards that will be coming to council through the annual action plan is more housing-related projects, housing rehabilitation, public services, and infrastructure projects, like city facility ADA improvements, city park improvements, sidewalks, those types of things. That is all I have for you, and I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe this is more for Ray Lynn, but are we considering the leasing program, and will that impact these requests for capital for vehicles?
Yes, it was on the consent calendar last city council and was approved by city council.
Right, so then we won't be purchasing vehicles?
That's correct. So in the budget, it shows that these two vehicles, instead of being budgeted at $65,000 apiece, are budgeted by the lease payment.
Perfect, that's where the confusion was. I thought we had, and so it was, yeah, thank you.
So
Jody, then
which
Councilor
one
Stoddard.
do you want, me first?
Yes.
You mentioned the GIS, and I hear this a lot from the community as well. Is there anything the council is holding you up on, or you have everything you need to put that GIS system for access for yourself and public facing?
I know we've been working with engineering, and I might defer to Haley, because I know there were some upgrades they were having to do with their ArcGIS system. Yeah, that's correct. We've been upgrading our ArcGIS to ArcGIS system as well.
I won't put you too much on the spot. Do you have a time frame?
They're actively working on it right now, and they're just working through some keys, so I expect them to.
Thank you.
Robin, are you gonna be involved with the Robert Brooks project?
I'm sorry, with the what?
Roger Brooks project coming
Yes,
down?
I will be,
Good,
yes,
good,
absolutely.
glad to hear it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your effort, all you do. You do have a great team, and I hear that constantly. How much they appreciate everything that you're doing and your staff, so.
They are a good group.
Well done. Good to see you, Cash.
I'm just gonna move back here.
So much fun.
You're definitely
Not gonna stay out?
No, I'm gonna move back.
Do you want me to move over?
Okay, did we save the best for last, Rob?
Depends on how you feel about it.
We'll find out,
I'd
so.
like to say yes, but I don't know, some of these presentations have been pretty good, so.
Okay, Mr. McDonald and crew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. I appreciate council taking the time to listen through the budgets. I know that it's a lot of information and it's overwhelming, and we certainly have plenty of information. We have 10 departments that oversee public works. And before I get started, I just want to thank my team. We have our public works team, Haley, Ashley, and Bruce. But more than that, I want to thank all of the department heads who are really the ones in the trenches that are getting all the work done. A lot of the work we do in public works is not visible to the public. The public doesn't know about our sewer lines, they don't know about our water lines. And when our guys are out through a weekend, working through the night, trying to take care of a bad lift station, and you know, we're home sleeping like babies. I always feel like they really go above and beyond, and it's very impressive what they do. And so I really appreciate our teams. We have great leaders, and we have great teams that get a lot of work done. Just to start, I'm gonna start us off, and then we're gonna go to the other departments. And we have a lot of information here, but we're gonna skip through this pretty quick. We're gonna touch a little bit on everything, just very briefly, but if there's anything that you want more detailed information on, don't hesitate to stop us, and we will certainly be happy to talk about it. So, Public Works vision: train, facilitate, and empower department leaders with the tools and skills necessary to confidently lead their teams to success while working proficiently and effectively to provide the citizens of Caldwell with a sustainable future in public infrastructure. That's very important. We are always looking toward the future, and we want to make sure that the public moving into the future has something that's going to work for the city's growth. Here's our flow chart, organizational flow chart. That's a little hard to read up there, but you have it in your handout. We have 10 departments that we oversee. Everybody knows the growth that we've experienced in Caldwell. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, between 2000 and 2023, our growth was 6.51% per year, which that may be the highest number I've seen. It certainly is a place that people want to come to, and we are providing the services, and we are providing the community that people want to live in. And so we are very proud of that. All of our infrastructure planning is dictated to us through master plans. All 5 of these master plans have been completed within the last 18 months. And for me, the master plans are critical for everything we do. We make decisions that cost the city millions of dollars based on the information that we have in master plans. And so keeping master plans updated frequently and making sure that we're following those master plans is essential. I would say that when I came into this position 2 years ago, our master plans were not, I felt like they were in disarray. We had never had a good transportation master plan. And so now we have updated all these master plans, and that is how we are making the decisions on what needs to happen and when. So we put a lot of pride in that. As part of the master plans, we are always looking at rates, and Ashley will talk a little bit more about that later on. And then I think the important thing is we're also looking at a program transitioning to a new asset management program so that all the assets we have in the ground we can track and make sure we're getting those maintained properly and tracking the maintenance on those. Public Works this year is requesting only 2 positions, and that is not a lot, and it's not necessarily because we don't need the positions. There's a couple reasons for that. The 2 positions are in wastewater, and again, Ashley will just touch on that briefly in a few minutes on why we need those positions. We have, some of our departments have hired a lot of new staff lately, and so it's hard to justify asking for a new position when we're still training a lot of employees. We don't know exactly what their capacity is. That's what I would say is probably the situation in the street department. And then the other issue, of course, is we don't have the budget necessarily to add new staff at this time, and that is probably more what we have in our water department. So for a variety of reasons, we're not asking for a lot of positions, just those 2 this year in Public Works, and there's a good chance next year we will probably have more than 2 that we would be requesting, but that's where we're at today.
Still no operator 6 instead of 2 operator 8s.
I told Jeff that we could do an operator 18 and get rid of 6 employees.
That's efficiency right there.
There we go. Okay, the budget overview, this is very similar to what, it's the same as what Ray Lynn showed yesterday. This shows our main departments. When we budget in these enterprise departments, there's always a fine line, and are we taking too much of the fund balance for capital projects to where we are damaging our fund balance, or are we not taking enough, not getting projects done that we should be getting done? And so we have to thread the needle a little bit, but we have been through this budget for months now, and I am very comfortable with this budget. It's not perfect. The bottom lines are not necessarily where we want them to be in a couple departments, but I endorse this budget. I've presented this to the mayor and Ray Lynn, and am presenting it now to council, that I am comfortable with this budget and where we are at. All the projects and proposals that we are presenting on today are all included in this budget that you see sitting here in front of you. We're going to just run through some presentations. We'll move to Ashley. I'm going to touch real quick on the Caldwell Event Center, then we'll move to Ashley, then Bruce, and then Haley, and then I'll wrap things up. So the Caldwell Event Center was put under Public Works just this year, and I've been working closely with Juan, and there are some projects that we want to get done out there. There are some things that, some needs that we have, but generally speaking, things have been going relatively smooth. I know that there's a lot of discussion with the county, and so there's some uncertainty on what the future looks like for this entire area and how that impacts our operations. But some of the goals we have, or objectives, we want to maximize the use of the facilities that we have. We want to help coordinate with the transition with the county, whatever that looks like. And we want to improve some of the facilities we have. And so Some of the things that we've talked about recently are signage. We have this great parking lot on the north side of the railroad tracks, and people keep asking me where the RV dump station is, and multiple people have asked me that. And it's been in there for a year, it's been active for a year, but we don't have any signage that says that, so nobody knows where it's at. We need a sign there that also indicates that it's free parking, that we have our RV slips. I don't know if anyone knows, we have our RV slips back there for rent. So we've talked about getting a sign out there, getting our webpage improved so that people looking for RV slips, this will pop up on their page and we can take more advantage of that. I think one of the important things moving forward is we want to look at automating, maybe automated gates or some kind of way to charge fees for parking for specific events if we feel like we want to. I went to my daughter's high school graduation at the Ford Idaho Center, and I had to pay $10 to park to go to a high school graduation. And so there may be events where we feel like we should be charging a fee because everyone else in the valley charges fees for parking. And of course, that's a policy decision. We don't have to, but we could. That's something we may want to look at. And that would be for the parking lot on 21st, and then probably also for the parking lot that's in front of the O'Connor Fieldhouse. And then you have the organizational chart there for the facilities, for the Caldwell Event Center, and then facilities, of course, falls under that, under Juan's supervision. And we have, six custodians that go around and take care of our buildings for us. That's about all I have on CEC. Do we have any questions for the Event Center at this time or facilities?
Doesn't look like it.
All right.
Excellent.
Very good. We will go to slide presentation number 2. Eddie?
Thank you. So my name is Ashley, and I will be covering the water divisions of the Public Works Department. You can see our org chart up there. I have 3 superintendents and a couple of technical staff that report to me. We'll go ahead and get started with just a few concepts here. Reminder that water, wastewater, and irrigation are our enterprise funds here that people pay their regular utility bills for, and they are not supposed to be mixed with the other funds. All of these divisions, with the exception of irrigation, are regulated by higher government entities and federal laws that require us to follow the Safe Drinking Water Act and the Clean Drinking Water Act. All of our staff are state of Idaho professional water and wastewater operators and or have bachelor's degrees, and so they're very well trained. Some of the common themes that you're going to see throughout this presentation are that a lot of these divisions have to comply with state and federal regulations. They're intended to protect public health, property, and our local natural resources. We focus on rehabilitating and maintaining our existing infrastructure before it fails us. And also we try to choose safe, cost-effective methods for repair. Okay, so with that, I will start with the water division. You can see here's the org chart. We have quite a number of staff. This is our biggest division in Public Works. There's Superintendent Terry Martin, and he has a staff of 34 people. So basically the water division's main task is to provide customers with a safe and reliable potable water supply. They maintain 340 miles of water mains, 15 domestic wells, and have 25,000 active water service accounts. I'm not going to run through all of these projects, but you can see that we really did make an effort to focus on our existing infrastructure this year by rehabilitating a number of existing wells. Again, we're looking at rehab, repair, and then in some cases adding treatment facilities so we can continue to use these wells that are already in the ground. We have a number of goals which are ongoing and keeping up with new technologies. I'll draw your attention there to the operations and service section at the beginning. We're upgrading our meter reading operations to an automated system such that we can read meters remotely. We're about 70% through the city on that project. Another project that we're working on closely with Michelle is
working on our prioritization of staff retention by making sure that these folks have opportunities for advancement and creating a structure in the water division that didn't historically exist. You can also see a number of items that we spend each year on under professional services. A lot of them are related to drinking water sampling. Again, these are required by the federal and state governments to keep everybody safe. You'll notice the two at the very end are related to engineering, and a few of those other ones are engineering related. These might seem a bit administrative, but those last two are monies very well spent. As Rob mentioned earlier, we do have a drinking water rate study that we just started, as well as we plan on restarting our drinking water master plan in January of this coming fiscal year. In the water division, we would love to hire more staff. I think Raylan has this on your radar already, but we do not have available funds to support that endeavor. According to our current master plan, we're down about 15 staff compared to where a similar public water system should be for the size that we have. So again, in the water division, we're looking to replace a dump truck. So we have that budgeted, but we won't actually make the purchase unless the engine or transmission fails on the current one that we have. And we're also looking to replace an existing pickup truck. And with that, I would stand for any water questions. I do have a couple slides at the end to address fees and rates, just so you're aware.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Same question, but the pickup truck would fall under the lease program,
That's correct.
so you're not really purchasing a pickup truck.
We want to get rid of the current one, but yes, we would love a replacement.
Does it work though? Because I hear there's another department that might need one.
It's a high maintenance vehicle.
That's usually the issue, right, is to trade them around, so. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was covered under the lease program as well. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, I will move on to irrigation, which is operationally a subset of our water division. Our irrigation staff run Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District. They operate about a lot over 15,000 irrigation services to our customers. And we have 66 pressurized irrigation stations that will be online by the end of this summer. Again, we have almost 16,000 customers that they serve. Some of their ongoing goals are continuing to install SCADA or supervisory control and data acquisition infrastructure so that we can monitor those systems remotely rather than just responding to calls. Let's see. Within our 26 budget, mostly our professional services are directly related to getting SCADA programming help. Within the irrigation division, they're also looking for a few materials requests. The Amiad brand filters that we use on our PI stations have been discontinued, so we're really struggling to get parts for them. So we're working through budgeting a few of those at a time to replace them. Again, those are very expensive, $50,000 plus per filter. And then they're also looking for a new pickup truck. Last year they requested 2, but we had some budgetary constraints, so we only ended up purchasing 1 of those. And then I would just mention that we have a few other folks in the water division that end up interacting with our customers quite a bit. One of those is the backflow prevention section. These individuals, we just have one at the moment, has specialized licensure from the state to operate our backflow prevention program. Again, that's a compliance program that requires people to have backflow devices, commercial properties to keep those maintained and protect our water supply from potential contaminants from private sources. We also have utility line locates. These are the folks who go out and paint the road where our utilities are, and again, this protects us from having them dug up or damaged by any contractors working in the area. With that, we have some time for irrigation questions. Yeah. Okay.
So our irrigation companies, specifically Golden Gate, Canyon Hill, very antiquated. I mean, it's amazing, they're still moving. Is there any opportunity for the city to kind of take over some of this stuff and bring it up to date?
Yes, but it would be very costly to us. We have a few mechanisms for making that happen, but again, it would cost those customers quite a bit of money to go to a pressurized system. A lot of those are just gravity irrigation, and they're old and they're not in the best condition. They're not super well maintained, you know, it's based on funds. And typically our operation is pressurized. Again, I mentioned we used filters and we run these pump stations. So it does cost more money to set up a pump station for an existing part of the town, whereas new development helps pay for that.
It just seemed, my crystal ball tells me at some point we're gonna reach a crisis in some of these. We kind of already have with Golden Gate. But Canyon Hill, although they're pretty good, they're not far behind Golden Gate. I don't know whether we're required to do something or we just let it fail, or people are gonna start using drinking water to irrigate their lawns.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern. The one thing that the city could do, those are not our systems. We don't even have jurisdiction to operate those systems. But if the city wanted to go in and force an LID in a certain geographical area, build all the infrastructure and assess it on all of those property owners, the city could go in and do something like that. That may be one of the only methods to really get something off the ground that's gonna work for those residences. The other option is we just try to put more pressure on those districts and try to encourage them to go assess what they need to and go in and fix the lines that need to be fixed.
Yeah, it just seems like as time goes by, they don't improve, they get worse, and
They're a private agency, I would say too. They're kind of their own
yes.
business entity, so it would be difficult for us to force them to.
It would be similar to us going into Nampa and telling them to do something different with how they're operating. I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
We'll get the council's product. So if we did that though, I mean, we would have to front that cost, correct?
Yes.
And then it'd get paid back, so we'd have to find that money to do it, and it would be
Millions, right?
Millions.
Yes, and then it would be an LID where they're paying it off over 10 years. And it would be forced, so a lot of them wouldn't be happy about it, but the city could force that LID on those property owners.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Rob, you did an estimate here, I think it was past, you're on Golden Gate. You remember what that number was?
Golden Gate has about 850 customers, if I recall correctly, and I think the estimate was over $10 million to get pipeline up and down all the streets and then get the pump stations constructed.
I still, that's really been a thorn in our side, because we get blamed for that, it's not our responsibility, and I know that, a couple of the folks that are under Golden Gate, I asked them, do you have an HOA or something, some organization? And they said, well, we do, and I said, well, where's their balance sheet? Why don't you look at their balance sheet, where they spend their money on the last couple of years? Nobody produces anything, so I don't know how that's working, but it just seems like somebody's collecting fees and spending it on something else other than irrigation, so we might, in the years ahead, we might have to bite the bullet there and do something, because
At some point in the future, something's gonna have to change.
10 million is a lot of money too, so, thank you.
Any other?
With that, I will move on to the wastewater division. We have one superintendent there, and Tony Harmon, and he has a staff of 24 people. Wastewater division, they operate and maintain 250 miles of sewer mains, 15 sewer pump lift stations, treat 8.7 million gallons a day of domestic sewage at the plant, and also work to meet our NPDES permit. We had a number of accomplishments in FY25. I'll just breeze through a few of these. One of them is managing the construction of our new septic receiving station. That provided us with a number of benefits, as you can see there, as well as a couple different pilot projects that we worked on. One is our filtrate side stream phosphorus removal project, and the other one which some of you are familiar with as a number of biosolids dewatering pilots. In the wastewater division, we have a few different goals for this coming year. We want to maintain free-flowing conditions in the sewer mains at all times. At the treatment plant, we're always looking to comply with the NPDES permit, and we're more recently closer investigating our biosolids future. We're looking at dewatering and drying pilots. We've already worked through the dewatering pilots and made a selection generally on that technology, and we're moving toward the drying pilots that would move us into a product that could be handled by the public. So I would just summarize really quick here. Over the last couple months, we've piloted a screw press, a multi-disc press, which a few of you were able to see in person, a fan press, and a belt filter press, which is what we already have. You notice there that some of those are more efficient than others. The greater the number of solids, the lesser the amount of liquid. So that's what we're looking for, because it reduces our hauling costs and our tipping fees at the landfill. Within the wastewater division, we have a number of professional services. A few of those there are administrative. You can see a number of Boise River water quality groups where we often work with the other municipalities within the Boise River Basin to accomplish similar goals and to interact with Idaho DEQ. We also are looking at a detailed rate study on our sewer utility in FY26. We also have a number of ongoing expenses that are related to on-call as we continue to need infrastructure assistance, and then also a growth-related technical expertise, as well as SCADA support. At the treatment plant, we have to purchase frequently every year a number of laboratory materials and ongoing SCADA support. We also have a budget for wastewater treatment plant on-call services. This division, as Rob mentioned, is requesting 2 treatment plant operators. The intent of this is that our operations just don't run as smoothly when we stop some of them over the weekend, and so we're looking to establish a new shift where some of these folks can run and check the plant and reduce our on-call times over the weekend and at evening times. They're also requesting a collections line truck, which is an equipment storage truck that also has a crane attached to it, so we can pull plugs and pipe repair materials out and into manholes. A backhoe, a vacuum truck that allows us to recycle water so we don't have to constantly dump and refill at hydrants, as well as a equipment storage lean-to at the plant. And with that, we have some time for wastewater questions.
And potential tours if anybody's interested in seeing.
Absolutely.
Ashley, do we still do anything with septic tank waste? Do we have any contracts signed with contractors relative to taking that?
We accept haulers who come and, they pump the septic and then they come and dump at our septic receiving had a few kinks in it, but it's pretty much open. We've had a few run through and we're working through, but it's ready.
Do we charge them individually, the contractor, or do we charge the county, or how does that work?
We charge them to dump the contractor.
Okay, do we have any relationship with the county relative to that? Because every time they approve a housing subdivision with septic tanks, we kind of get blamed sometimes for not taking as much as they would like to have a stake.
Honestly, so no, to answer your question, but the amount of septage that we receive is really a drop in the bucket compared to the flow that comes to us through the collection system.
But we don't have any relation with the county relative to that at all?
No, it's just with the hauling contractors.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Kind of the burning question, how much are we budgeting for moving solids this year? Hauling and dumping?
Oh, for hauling.
Let me look it up and I will get it back to you guys.
I don't know that, I don't have that number off the top of my head.
While she's doing that, can I follow up on Councilman Stoddick's question? Are our fees for those septic systems that are dumping online where they need to be, so that they're not taking advantage of us because they could pay us less than they would most places?
Excellent question. So yes, so those fees are paying for themselves, but due to, we're gonna discuss this a little bit on future slides, but because we're looking at increasing the ratepayers' fees, we're also looking at increasing those the same, so that no one's shouldering more.
The Napa still takes them to what they have there, not Napa? Don't they take,
I think it's very limited, and I'm not certain that they do. I've heard rumors that they often do not.
like I say, it just seems to me we're about the only city service on the block that takes those things.
Yes, that's my understanding as well.
Having login issues, I apologize, so it's just gonna take me a minute.
Councilor Dimberg, yeah, question also.
So I got a couple questions. There's no possible way for them to dump septic at the RV dump?
I don't actually know that for sure. I don't know how large that access is at the RV dump.
It is possible.
Is it possible?
Legal.
No.
No.
Absolutely not. And people would notice if there was a big truck there dumping out on the ground. Their hoses are much bigger than the RV dump hoses. So physically, is it possible? Yeah, they could prop open the thing and back their truck up. But that would be a huge fine that they would be receiving if we caught them. We have had situations over the past years where we have found them dumping into manholes throughout the city, and we have hefty fines for anything like that.
And the other question is kind of, maybe Councilor Allgood was heading that direction. We came out and did a tour here 2 months ago or 3 months ago, and we looked at some dewatering press, which reduced the amount of our solids, and you mentioned it, to a point where it could be consumer grade fertilizer. And there was a cost to that, a big cost to that. And so when do we start planning for implementing something that down the road is where we need to be?
So we actually have money in this year's budget for the dewatering portion. So this is like a two-step process. A portion is the dewatering that presses the moisture out. And then the second portion that allows it to be, handled by the public is a dryer, basically, that gets it to like 90% solids. And so we've piloted all of the presses and selected one that we like. And the next step is that we're looking to pilot the dryers. The one that you guys were able to see, or that a few of you were able to see, was a little bit unique in that had a dryer attached to it, just for the sake of marketing purposes, basically. So we do have those design monies in this year's budget.
And Brad's not here, Councilor Doty's not here, but he asked this question the other day at another meeting that we were at. So with regards to this dewatering stuff that you need, and are you talking about additional facilities to house it? Or do we just take away old stuff and put new stuff in it?
I would say yes and yes. So our existing belt filter press, we have a bit of a shed that it sits in, that last one there, and it's old and it needs maintenance frequently. If we had a catastrophic failure, we could bring in one that's in a semi and rent it. But generally, we'd like to demo that building and put in a new facility with a different kind of press. We're actually most favorable to the screw press there. But we just kind of talked through some of those expenses this week.
For fiscal year 25, we budgeted $448,000, and for this fiscal year that we're budgeting for, it's $550,000.
550? That's hauling in landfill costs as well.
Any other wastewater? Okay, on stormwater.
Our stormwater division is nomenclatured MS4, and that is a subset of the streets fund. Our stormwater division, is intended to operate our 2 permits, one at the airport and one across the city, that allows us to discharge stormwater to surface waters. And there are a number of activities that we are required to execute under those permits. Again, those discharge permits are intended to protect the water quality of our local waterways. This is a smaller division. Christina Beeson is the superintendent, and she supervises a staff of 3. They accomplished a number of things as required by our MS4 permit, regulated by Idaho Department of Environmental Quality. One of these items that is visible for everybody is working with the engineering department to expand our street department wash rack. We also completed our airport feasibility study, which is intended to help us see the steps toward getting rid of or abandoning our airport discharge permit by installing containment infrastructure. And then we also had the opportunity to present some of our historic research at a Idaho Water Quality Conference this year. The Stormwater Division's goals are there, and we work on these all the time. The intent is to protect health and the safety of community and meet our permit requirements. This division is requesting 1 4x4 pickup truck this year. They have a number of professional services that help them be attuned to the ever-changing weather that we have in Idaho. One is our cloud subscription. We have a number of sampling costs, and we're also asking for additional design budget for the airport and the stormwater infrastructure there. And with that, stormwater questions.
I do not see any. So.
All right, here's the fun slide. All right, just a quick introduction to utility rates and fees adjustments that we're looking at FY26. Again, your water, sewer, and irrigation utilities operate independently as their own enterprise funds. Just a quick reminder that user rates may fund operation and maintenance as well as the infrastructure needs that support the utility's interest. So that can be development related or not development related. It's just related to what the utility has a focus on at the time. Connections fees specifically are semi-related to development. A connection fee is a new user's buy-in to the city's existing asset. And that definition is supported by Idaho case law. Those fees need to be calculated using the Loomis formula, which is basically what I just described. A new user would pay for their slice of the city's existing asset system. So that kind of stands to reason that you have to build up your system in order to have something reimbursed back to you. So we are looking at rate and fee adjustments in accord with our master plans and our rate studies in order to avoid being forced to bond on future major projects. That's really the intent here. These rates need to be adjusted because of our population growing so quickly. We do not have a small town public water system anymore. It truly has substantial capital improvement needs and capital improvement maintenance costs. And so I know this has been touched on earlier, but we've looked at inflation in labor, inflation in materials, increased wages to improve employee retention, and increased maintenance needs as our system continues to age. So I would say anticipate us requesting double-digit % increases this year. I would also share, this is a study that a neighboring jurisdiction puts together each year so that we can compare our water and sewer rates across the Treasure Valley. You can see that ours are certainly on the lower side, but it's just a great comparison to see what other folks are charging and equally paying for nearby. And that is my last slide, so I'll leave that up in case anyone has further questions. Available to answer some of those with Ray Lynn, if you have any at the moment.
With those rate increases, how would that then compare to, like, say, Nampa?
The rate increases
Yeah.
or their existing,
Well, just like
rates?
what their proposed, I guess, do we know what their proposed increases are, and will we be like significantly higher than the cities around us, still lower, about average, or?
I would say that so the city of Nampa they've kind of started ahead of us a bit on the rate increases. They had a sewer bond that they passed, if not last year, the year before, and they had been looking at 16 to 17% rate increases over 4 years, I think. So they have different initiatives for sure, but there are a number of folks that, have different interests across the jurisdictions, like recycled water or, the biosolids interest here. And so some of those things kind of drive based on what you guys would like to see happen. But what we're budgeting for is really based on the needs of our master plan that we know that we will need to accommodate future permits, future growth, future drinking water needs of the community.
This is the existing rates, correct?
This is current, yeah.
Questions?
One of the other comments I just want to make on especially bonding, with talking with our municipal advisor that helped us with the fire bond. One of the things that has been a trend across Idaho is seeing an increase in bonding for both water and sewer systems. Almost every city has gone to that because infrastructure is growing so fast, has become so expensive. And there's really, unless we are increasing rates at double and triple digits, we just can't keep up with it, even with the growth that's happening across Idaho. So like Nampa, where it's 145 million, I believe their sewer bond is, this is not out of the norm. We're actually out of the norm because we don't have a bond on our systems, that we are paying for cash with infrastructure. And so the rate increases will help to not have that happen and not to go into debt to do this infrastructure improvements that are required, so.
And those kind of bonds are a simple majority, is that correct?
That's correct. They're revenue bonds, so, yes.
With that, I think we want to switch presentations.
So let me ask a quick question though. So, we talked about the upgrades at wastewater plant. And by Ray Lynn's numbers, we're up over 100,000 in 1 year in costs, getting rid of solids, for over $500,000. So, I know we're talking about increasing rates, but it seems to me if we can get some of these systems in place, it would reduce the need to increase rates because we could reduce the cost to the public to get rid of some of this stuff. Is that reality or is that not?
So I would say it can be to an extent, but it might be a drop in the bucket as far as what this extra project would cost to reduce our tipping fees and reduce the biosolids disposal. I think it's a good thing. I think it's good for the community. But as far as the rest of the budget, there are so many other expenses that go into it. Rob's gonna touch on it. We have an upcoming lift station and trunk project that's estimated to be $20 million. And so there are many large sewer lift stations and trunk mains that need to go in across the city. And some of these improvements that we're required to make at the treatment plant for redundancy purposes that are simply needed. And if we would like, we have the option to do what we would like with the biosolids, but that's.
Small potatoes and.
It can't, yeah. Yep.
And the one thing I'll add to that, you may be saving 500,000 a year on tipping fees and hauling, but you may be using some of that back up, to pay for the fuel or the electricity for the dryer to be able to dry the biosolids. And so you're not just gonna get all that back and not have to spend it. It may be going to some other part of the process.
Right.
Are we engineering or are we streets? Streets.
I've got the best job in the city. If you look up fat, dumb, and happy in the dictionary, my picture would be right next to it. So that's how life is so good. And that's because I've got really good teams and everybody just wants to get things done. This is a street department, 25 positions. We actually have 22 of them filled now, which is great. We've had a lot of vacancies in the past. Their core duties are to take care of the roads and everything kind of related to the roads. And you see the picture of the chip seal, and that's what they're doing out there right now as we speak. They'll be Tuesday, they'll be done probably next Monday or Tuesday. So some of the accomplishments this last year, I'm not gonna go through all of these things. A couple of unique things though, they developed actually a couple of parking lots. They really like to do some things that are a little different than their routine duties. As you recall, we evaluated the pavement on arterials and collectors, and the results came in. 80% of our roads are in good or satisfactory condition. 19% were fair and 1 was poor. So the ones we'll be concentrating on obviously is that fair and poor category, trying to get some overlays in. Also this last year, we did a lot of sidewalk repairs. Took care of a lot of trip hazards. There's still a lot out there. It's like almost a never-ending job, but we're trying to get corridors done. The corridor from on Cleveland Boulevard all the way from downtown up to the college is now complete. It's we've taken care of all the sidewalks in that area. We developed a railroad quiet zone plan, which we'll implement next year. We had some emergency repairs that came up on the 10th Avenue Bridge taken care of. Our street crews went out and paved a lot of the pathways out at Purple Sage this spring. And we've got 2 overlays on 10th Avenue and also on Homedale that we're going to be doing next month. Our request for the street division, basically equipment related. We have a Vector truck that's 20 years old, and we have, it's expensive. And then we have a backhoe also that's much older than that. A couple pickup trucks also, like the other requests you've seen. They're kind of at the end of their useful life. So our goals for this next year are to develop a 5-year overlay list. We're looking to do the downtown area with some overlays next year, 5th and Kimball and 9th. And continue with sidewalk repairs, filling in gaps. Implement that railroad quiet zone next spring. Originally, it was thought it might be $4 million. I think it's gonna be about $350,000, so it's awesome. And we have a lot of new employees in the street, so it's getting them trained and up to speed. The electrical division is a team of 5. We just filled our last position, and so they'll be starting on Monday, so we'll be up to speed there. They take care of the traffic signals, the street lights, parking lot lights, flashing beacons, all these different things that are related to electrical. This last year, we installed 10 pedestrian signals in different school zones. We've ordered these flashing beacons like you see in the lower right-hand corner that are coming in, and we'll be getting all those installed before school starts, which will be, I think, great for everybody. And highlight a couple other things. Let's see. We're looking to we relocated to the old street shop across the street, and it's been so good because now they actually have room to get organized and lay out all their equipment. The bottom photo is where we completed all the street lighting at that parking lot that Rob had shown earlier, that's off of 21st, just north of the railroad tracks. Looks really good. We have one request here. We have a micro mini excavator right now that's just a little too small to be able to lift our signal poles and heavier equipment. And so we'd like to go from a micro mini to a mini and trade that in this coming year. Our goals this year, at every signal, you'll see these cameras that basically are the detection cameras to tell you that, hey, there's cars waiting, so trip the signal. They work great, except when you're in fog or when it's early morning or late evening when the sun is shining straight on them. They kind of mess up. So we're hoping to go to radar, which will eliminate those problems for those detection cameras. Our ultimate goal is to get as many of our signals to where we can program them remotely. You don't have to actually go out to the site all the time to fix something that might have tripped. The other thing I'm really excited about is this next year we have 4 intersections where we're ordering the materials. We have a consultant designing them, we're ordering the materials. We're gonna construct those signals ourselves with our own crews. So, which will save at more than 50% of the cost. And we also are looking at the area just north of downtown to try to improve the lighting, especially at the intersections in that area. Sanitation, real quick, I don't do much of anything. We have a contract that we put together last year, and it actually will go through 2033. And as far as really monitoring the contract, if there are issues with the citizens, we deal with those. Since it came out and everybody was up in arms over recycling, things have died down. One of the things we'd like to do more towards the future is see if we can find a facility that we can put in a waste transfer facility at some point. There's one going in right now, as you may be aware, just north of the sugar beet factory in Nampa. And it'd be nice someday to be able to put one out here. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Very good. Any questions?
Mayor?
Mr. Mills, yes.
Thank you. Bruce, again, thank you for so many wonderful things you're doing for us. 2 questions for you. One of them, just out of curiosity, the signal at Ustick in the fire station, will that be a flashing beacon that when they get calls will change, or what kind of signal will that be?
It will be a signal that when the fire trucks need to come out, it will trip and stop the traffic on Ustick and they'll be able to get in and out. The second thing it'll do is pedestrians will be able to push a button and get across there. We're putting a crosswalk there to get people that want to go either to the soccer field, I guess it is, or Walmart, or whatever. So it's a full functioning signal that way. But those are the 2 main duties for it.
Good, thank you. The other question, you're asking for a backhoe and you're asking for a backhoe. Do both departments need their own backhoe? Do they use them full-time enough that we couldn't have one backhoe and share that?
Yeah, actually that micro mini one we're looking to trade in is one that we do share with streets. And so that is the one that gets shared between the 2 of them.
Okay, so the other backhoe you mentioned prior to that, because I saw a backhoe, then I saw the micro mini.
Yes.
And the micro mini kind of made sense to me, but you were looking for that backhoe, and then streets was looking for a backhoe.
This is the only one we have of this size. We have the big loaders, obviously,
right,
that we use, but this is the only backhoe that we have in streets, and it's, like I said, 1991, so it's pretty old.
And I'm not suggesting that it's not necessary. I guess what I'm asking is, would you need are you suggesting you need a second backhoe?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we're looking to replace the 1991 backhoe.
Okay, but you're not looking to buy 2 backhoes for 2 separate departments?
No, both backhoes get used by both departments, depending on what type of job they're doing. But the micro mini you can use that one on, it can go on sidewalks, so I'll break in the sidewalk.
I understand, that's all I wanted to be clear
okay.
on. We're not getting 2 full-size backhoes.
No, this is a very small one. You can't tell from that picture, but it's a pretty tiny one.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much, Bruce. Appreciate all you do. So now I think it's over to
So I'm Haley Hart, I'm the city engineer, and I will be presenting for the engineering and the mapping budgets. I'll start first with our engineering division. Here is our engineering flowchart. This probably is going to look different to you than it did in past years. One of the goals that I'm looking at is looking at restructuring. You can see right now we have a lot of
vacant positions that we are actively looking to fill. The engineering department, are welcome to read through all of our responsibilities. However, we essentially oversee any of the construction and development that happens within the city, whether it be on the private sector or on the public sector. We are involved beginning with entitlement with the planning department, through design, through construction, and through any maintenance and warranty with the rest of public works. We have a large list of accomplishments. This is not all of them, however, I will touch on a few that I have listed here. We were able to implement our traffic impact fees thanks to the City Council passing this resolution this year. This is allowing us to collect more money from developers as they come into the city to help fund our streets projects that are on our CIP. Additionally, we were able to complete several consultant rosters. This allows us to have a list of design consultants readily available so that when we need to proceed with design projects, we have a list that has already been vetted that we can just move forward and proceed with rather than going through a formal RFQ process for every single project. We've begun updating our specifications. You've seen a few of those come through in the last year. Those included things like our access management, our street sections, our CMID specs. The ISPWC will be releasing the 2025 version this month. Once they release their updated version, we will be able to go through all of our supplemental specifications, and I will be planning to bring that to you this fiscal year in conjunction with working with the other public works departments to make sure that we are happy with our revised specs. More accomplishments there are many of the projects that we have participated in, such as the pool, Milton Skyway Roundabout, Farmway Road Utility Extension, Wash Rock, and many others. The strategic goals for the engineering department, really this year I want to make sure that I'm improving our day-to-day operations and making sure that our staffing needs are met. As I pointed out, we are very understaffed in the engineering department, and as you saw from Director Collins' presentation, we are not seeing a slowdown of any construction in the city. As part of improving the day-to-day operations, I want to delineate staff who are working on private sector projects versus the public sector projects. This will help improve efficiencies and allow staff to focus on fewer projects rather than being spread thin on a large array of projects. In addition to that, I've been working with the finance and the HR teams to reevaluate not just what our the workflow for the staff is, but then also how they're being paid. And they've been a great help at assessing those values. So for our budget requests, again, we're looking at making sure that our staff is adequately paid to help with our employee retention. Additionally, now that we have moved in to the city hall, a lot of our staff are out on construction daily, and so to keep a good appearance for the citizens who are the ones that are funding our salaries, we want to make sure that we look professional and that we are recognizable when citizens see us out on construction sites. So I would like to have uniforms for the staff members who are out in the construction field. With that, I can move to the mapping division. The mapping division is a small division. It is made up of 4 members, and these, it's supervised by Dave Marston. These members really oversee all of the GIS data and assets within the city. They put all of this data into a web map that is available to all citizens, or to, all city staff. And as you know, we are working towards an outward-facing GIS. The question was asked when that outward-facing map will be coming. I expect it soon, certainly by the end of fiscal year. To give a little bit more information, the issue that we had when we wanted to release that outward-facing web map, there was a security issue where some of our data could be taken from that web map. So we just want to make sure that our information is secure before making that outward-facing. Some of the accomplishments that the mapping department has been able to achieve is upgrading to our enterprise geodatabase software. It's to a newer version. With that upgrade, we had to migrate all of our data from the old version to the new version, and this was quite the undertaking. Additionally, we migrated our workflow from ArcMap to ArcPro. These are just updates and upgrades that are necessary with a growing GIS system. We've been continuing to work with our Public Works team on our asset management software. We are currently utilizing Beehive. We have the streets and the wastewater treatment plant operational, and we are working towards getting the water department operational under the Beehive software to assist managing assets when these public works teams are in the field. They can actively pull information on their assets. We receive a plethora of public works records, or of public records requests, excuse me. Specifically, we're averaging 8 just requesting information from our master plan. So people typically want information from our master plan who are looking to develop in our city, and we're receiving about 8 requests a month. And continuing to prepare updated maps for various groups such as the Chamber of Commerce. The strategic goals of the mapping department include updating our asset management system. Like I stated, we're currently using Beehive, however, we are looking at other systems that could work more efficiently in the field. We're looking at a couple of those, and we're actively working on demos with companies to determine which is the best system for the public works team. Again, we're working on that outward-facing web map. While we're looking at having a web map that's outward-facing for planning and entitlement side, we're also wanting to have an outward-facing road closure map so that any citizens can see current road closures, upcoming road closures, roads that are being flagged, to really help provide some transparency to the community on the active construction happening. The mapping department, we are requesting a mapping server. I will note, you might remember, we did request this the current fiscal year that we're in. However, we ended up needing to spend the money that was approved for that mapping server as part of the enterprise geodatabase software upgrade. That was necessary with the growing city and the growing data. We needed to make that upgrade, so we bumped the server to the 2026 fiscal year. Again, those employee uniforms for the staff who are out in the field daily so that citizens can recognize city staff. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay, very good. And this is back to Rob to wrap it up. Yep.
You can see now why we're so successful is because of the people that I work with do such a great job. Just to wrap up real quick, I'm just going to go through some of the capital project highlights. And I just want to make sure that some of these are going to have a big impact on the public and just make sure everybody's aware. So our first project is 10th Avenue between the interstate and the railroad tracks. This is a full resurfacing. Raised medians will be added. Some of the intersection ADA ramps will be constructed, and there will be conduit put in place that can interconnect some of the traffic signals. This is a 2026 project. It is federally funded, but the city does have a cost share. Next year, we're proposing to do resurfacing on some of the downtown streets. We're looking at Kimball, 9th Avenue, and 5th Avenue. Some of those streets are in pretty poor condition, and they've been chip sealed so many times that you're starting to get a parabolic surface. When you park diagonally against the curb, sometimes you feel like you're gonna rip your bumper off. So there's definitely some needs there, and we have those earmarked in. We hope that we're able to get some of those projects done this next year downtown to improve the aesthetics and make the roads nicer down there. We have several intersection projects Bruce already mentioned some of the traffic lights that we're looking at. Let's see. I'm not even on the right page. Okay, never mind. We'll talk about the roundabouts. We have these 3 roundabouts listed, the top 3. 2 of these are Highway District 4 roundabouts that were supposed to happen this year, and they were both delayed. So all 3 of these roundabouts now are scheduled for 2026. Ward and Linden is the one that is a very uncomfortable intersection, and there are a couple schools right there, and so we want to push this one through. Design's been done for a little while. Middleton and Linden is the Highway District's roundabout. Our contribution to that is pretty minimal compared to the overall cost of the project, so we're happy that they're willing to come in and pay for a vast majority of that. And then Ustick and Farmway is another one that we're splitting 50-50 with Highway District 4. We are also in the process of designing several other roundabouts, and all of the funding for that is through our old traffic mitigation fees that we have collected over the last many years. Those fees have to be spent up, and we don't collect mitigation anymore. We have traffic impact fees now, so we have a different program, but we still have $3.5 million sitting in that traffic mitigation fee fund. So we're taking that to complete the Ward and Linden roundabout, and then we're also taking that to start design on our what we're calling our Homedale corridor proposal. We have a lot of issues down on Homedale Road, and we want to start bringing some attention down to that area. And then the last one there is Lincoln and Middleton. That is a combined project between Caldwell, Middleton, and the Highway District. The city has taken the lead on design, but we are getting reimbursed probably 100% back from the Middleton transportation impact fees, because that roundabout is a project in the city of Middleton on their impact fees. So a lot of that will get reimbursed. The city does have some costs with regards to right-of-way acquisition, but the construction will also be covered through NAMPA's traffic impact fees. We do have some intersection projects, and Bruce already alluded to some of these. The big one that I'll mention is Cleveland and Linden. That is currently in design. Next year, we propose to start acquiring the right-of-way and hopefully relocate utilities. And in the following year, 2027, we would like to be able to construct the widening of that intersection. Because of the confinements, it's not going to widen a lot, but it's definitely going to have some additional right-hand turn lanes added in, and it's going to be much better than it is now. And what we're looking at is the feasibility actually of pushing the limits of construction further to the east, all the way to the railroad track, so that whatever's going on there in the Griffiths Park and Wolf Field, they'll have access to a new road section through there. Indiana and Linden, traffic light. Aviation and Linden, temporary traffic light. 24th and Blaine is an area that we've been trying to get a light up, where you have that dual left-hand turn, and then during events, we have a lot of pedestrians crossing the street there. Montana Avenue and 18th is kind of a weird geometric design or layout, and so we're looking at improving that. And then the big one is Ustick Interchange Justification Report. The preliminary report that is titled The Purpose, Needs, and Location Study has been completed, and ITD is reviewing that. And that narrows the scope down quite a bit. And that was recommended by ITD and Federal Highways. And after they get that reviewed, then we will go into the justification report study to start identifying where an interchange is going to be best suited. Somewhere along Ustick, between Ustick and Middleton, or possibly at Middleton. I won't touch on the quiet zone. I think Bruce already covered that pretty well, but that'll be definitely an exciting improvement downtown. We have several major sewer projects. Lift station upgrades. Franklin Lift Station was built about 20 years ago up on, it is on Lincoln Road, right? Lincoln. Tony? Anybody go back? The Franklin Lee, it was built 20 years ago. It's a pretty massive lift station, but it has not had any major upgrades in 20 years. And so the time has come that we need to spend a little bit of attention there. And then we have a couple, Commuter Estates is a very small lift station that we're looking at. Woodgate Lift Station has a force main project that we need to do to to help us achieve a little bit more capacity while that lift station is still online. We have mainline projects. Kit Avenue is a main line that is undersized for the amount of flow that we're starting to receive. Madison Sewer is a replacement project for a line that's in very poor condition. Fourth Avenue is a line that goes under the railroad tracks and is not in a great location. And then 21st Avenue bypass is the big sewer bypass line that we are proposing to bid out next week so that we can get that line done. This project, of course, started several years ago and was built about halfway, but we need to get this project done because that lift station needs to be taken offline as soon as possible. And then we have plant upgrades. Ashley talked about some of these. Biosolids dewatering is in the planning. DAF construction, headworks, and grit classifier. These are all things that need to be done so that we have the proper redundancy at the plant so that we meet all of the requirements that we're supposed to be following. The big lift station that gets its own slide is the Lincoln Lift Station, which will take 2 other lift stations offline and render them not needed. It also builds quite a bit of gravity line and also forced trunk line. This is the project over the next 2 or 3 years that's probably going to cost in the ballpark of $20 million is what the estimates were. This is in design now. We're past 50% on the lift station, and this is a project that is absolutely necessary. All the projects that we present here are projects that have to happen. These aren't projects that we're just deciding this would be, interesting to do or fun to do. These are projects that have to happen, and these are all part of growth. And then my last slide, I wanted to just circle back a little bit. Last year, we had quite a bit of discussion about our water system. And since then, we have dug in pretty substantially on evaluating the entire system. We've been working with several different consultants on different components. And we have systematically been going through the entire city, every single well, reviewing the condition of every single well, and seeing if we can squeeze any more capacity out of the existing wells we already have. Ashley already talked about some of these, but you can see, for example, well 1A, the first one. We were able to replace the pump there, and now we get 300 gallons more per minute of production. Well 4, it's kind of the same thing. We clean the screens out, which hadn't been done in a while. We get additional capacity there. Well 6 is a well that's been offline for 4 years, and it's expected to be back online hopefully in the next, within weeks or the next couple months. That's an additional 800 gallons into the system. Well 7B, an additional 300 gallons has just recently been added. Well 13, we're expecting that back online in hopefully in the middle of 2026, and that well has been off for decades. And so some of these, we didn't even really know why they weren't operating or what the condition was, so we've been out testing the water, we've been pump testing and figuring out what does it take to get these back online. If there's no reason to have them shut off, then why are they shut off? Rehabilitating an existing well is a lot cheaper than building a new one. Usually. Well 15, we're looking at improving the electrical so that it can handle a larger pump to increase productivity. Well 16 is a fully operational well. That has never been used because it has a hydrogen sulfate odor. So it smells like you're at a hot spring. And so when we've used it in the past, people have complained about it, but the water quality is good. So can we treat that and get that back online and have it as a usable pump? Is that feasible? And so we're looking into that. We have booster stations. One of them was just brought back online that has not been operational for a long time. That can push an additional 500 gallons into zone 2. Well 17 booster is going to be able to push 2,700 gallons into zone 2 in addition to what it already pushes, and then an additional 400 into zone 3. And that project, the zone 2 portion, is the one that we had the sole source approval in council a couple weeks back to get those pumps going. And so we're definitely making headway there. We have pressure reducer valves that we are installing at 3 locations that are either being installed or in design. We have a 10th Avenue water line that that's about to be constructed now down in Zone 4. That'll connect two isolated parts of Zone 4 and get them onto the same system. And then we have some generators that we are purchasing for some of our wells. So the new wells, we also have 5 new wells that we're working on. Well 20 is out by the Sunrock on 2026, the railroad spur out there. That well has been drilled for several years, but it was never completed. So we're getting that well completed. That's going to help serve that area, that part of Zone 2 out there. We have 3 wells that we are pushing forward on test well sampling in Zone 3. And not all 3 of those wells have to be built immediately, but we wanted to push on 3 locations so that we could make sure whichever one had the best water quality, we could proceed immediately on a well and have those locations figured out. Those, by and large, those are being helped, we're being helped with those by developers. And we have good partnerships going. And then well 25 is a well we're proposing up at, near the Caldwell Housing Authority on their site to help serve that urban renewal area and get a redundant source of water up in that area. So I know that's a lot, and that's the end of my presentation. I just want to say that there's a lot of talk, and maybe understandably so. The perception is that we are having trouble keeping up with growth, and we're falling behind. I have to respectfully disagree with that. I think that we are doing a great job, and this year we have gotten a lot done on our water system and our sewer system, and I feel like we are definitely on the right trajectory. Are we completely out of the woods yet? Are we exactly where we want to be? I would say no. We still have a lot to do. But with some of these wells coming online next year and some of these improvements we've made, we are going to be in a much, much better situation, and we're going to be doing great within the next year or two. And so I think that I think that we're doing a great job. Our teams are doing a great job keeping up on everything they're doing. And the growth, though it is stressful and we have a lot going on, we are keeping up, and I think we're doing a great job. That is all I have for Public Works, and we and my team, we're happy to answer any additional questions that you may have, and that's it.
That is awesome information, and so thank you. And I'm guessing a lot of those things go to this amazing lady here, and also probably Terry as well, and your whole crew on that, so.
Yeah, and we also have a hydrogeologist that's been doing a ton of legwork on this too, Nate. I don't know if he's here. I don't think he is.
But that's fantastic, so thank you so much, that's huge, so, huge win, way to go. Questions? Yes?
Hey, Rob, how deep do we go on those wells?
That is a good question. All of our wells vary, and a lot of it depends on the test well. The test well goes to a different depths of strata, and so we figure out where the best water quality is, but it's not uncommon for our wells to go 400 feet deep. Some of them are more shallow than that. Some of them are deeper. It just depends on what the strata tells us.
So we had roughly 5 or 6 wells that were not in use at one time, and for whatever reason, we don't know, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were theories. A couple of these have been offline for decades. And so there were talks that there was, well 13 had iron bacteria.
A number of them really needed repairs to the structural portion of the well, or they needed to be cleaned out. Basically, when you jet the screens with chlorine, or try to get the screens open so that more water can enter the well. So they just really needed that heavy maintenance that takes some time, and a project manager and a well driller who knows what they're doing to rehabilitate them a bit.
On the sulfate problem, don't they make scrubbers for that get rid of the oil, like they do with smoke coming out of the processing plant?
Yeah, there are processes for that, and we have a consultant looking at that right now to figure out what the most affordable process is to see if we can use that. The well is still online. It's not being used, but if there was an emergency, a catastrophic emergency, it would kick on and start putting water into the system.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
Getting those wells back online, I just scratched my head and was like, that's a big deal. I mean, the fact that you can rehab these wells and bring them back online is, I mean, that's, comparing to going out and digging a new well somewhere, it seems to me like it's such a much better option than what we're looking One of the questions I had was, when you guys have an immense amount of work, are we using a lot of contract services, the appropriate amount of contract services? How would you rate us there on private contractors for getting some of the work done?
That's a great question. I don't know if you want to take that or.
I can, at least in water and wastewater, there's a number of things that are kind of specialty items, like specialty heavy maintenance, like we recently are contracting with someone to clean out a digester, and that's what they do, is go around the country and clean out digesters. Not anyone can pull a submersible pump out of a municipal well. They have to have the right size of equipment, and you want someone who has the right expertise. You don't want a general contractor going in there and, just giving it a try,
I was kind of
right?
getting at contractors just because we're shorthanded of our own people to do the work to keep up. Do we do much of that, or are we keeping up pretty well with our own employees?
I would say we would love to have more of the engineering department staffed to help with that project management piece.
And along those lines, Haley, I was looking at your department, and it looks like you got 16 employees with 6 missing.
That's correct. We're hurting a little bit right now for our staff. We have an inspector who just signed his offer letter today, so I'm very excited for him to be starting at the end of the month. But yeah, the engineering department is having a hard time getting staffed, and that's why I've been working very closely with Michelle and with Raylan this past year, these past few months, to look at restructuring and reclassifying the employees so that we can make the positions more enticing to those who are going.
Okay, yeah, because that's a big deficit. I mean, that's a lot of work for the.
Yes.
There. And then whoever, Rob, Homedale and Farmway is closed. What's going on there? Do you know?
Yeah, so Homedale and Farmway, that intersection there is, that's part of a development, the Chickasaw development. And you may recall the work that we're doing on Farmway Road was forced on us a little bit because we knew that the highway district was gonna come in and repave the entire road. And before they went in and did that, we figured we may as well get our utilities in the ground before they go in and repave it, because then we're stuck for another 10 years waiting for them to allow us to go back in there. That developer, Chickasaw, is also participating in quite a bit of the cost. I think they're contributing about $1 million to the water line that's coming up, the sewer line that's coming up in Farmway Road. And so right now they're trying to run those utilities in Homedale to be able to serve their site, and so that's why that intersection is still closed.
I was hoping you would say that they're finishing the roundabout there. That's not part of it.
Unfortunately, no. The roundabout at Ustick is the highest priority because of the accidents that we've had at Ustick Road on Farmway. That one's gonna happen this year. The intersection at Homedale and Farmway will be converted temporarily for the next couple of years to a 4-way stop. And that was the request and recommendation of the Highway District. Farmway Road is still the Highway District's road. And then we're hoping in the next 2 to 3 years maybe to get a roundabout off the ground at that location.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Rob? Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate all you do. There's a lot into that, so. And that is our final one. We went over a little bit today, I might add, but still did a great job.
I had till 7:40.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't go that long. So, thank you so much for that. So any questions? So I think that we are actually going to look at if the council is amenable to it, to go into an executive session to discuss West Valley animal shelter.
Get your motion here, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, perfect. So
You wanna do it now?
well, for just real quick, I guess.
5-minute break, or what do you want?
Well, I think we can do the motion, then take a break, but is there any questions regarding the budget we discussed tonight? Okay, yeah, go for it.
Make a motion to move into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74206, subsection 1D, for the purpose of discussing, let me read 1D. For the purpose of discussing records that are exempt from disclosure provided in Chapter 1, Title 74 Idaho Code.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Some Motion from Counselor Doty,
Good
second
catch,
from Counselor Stinber. And then we'll do a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, very good. So with that, we're there. So yes, go ahead and take a break. We'll get the room cleaned out, the mic off and everything. So, yep.